This is the knockout artist, Chris Hero. And if you're looking for some true heel heat, you better listen to the boys.
What's up, guys? It's Wolverine, Death Machine, Mr. GMSI himself, Brian Cage, and you're watching True Heel Heat. Who better? Nobody.
All right, hello, True Heel Heat. I'm the AEW World Champion MJF. Just in case you're deaf, dumb, blind, stupid, or since you listen to this podcast poor, you're listening to True Heel Heat, and I apologize for that.
It is the final pay-per-view review of 2023. We have made it to the end, the World's End. And yes, the final AEW pay-per-view of 2023 showed us who the devil really is. And we have a new world champion. It is me, your True Heel Phenom, SP3. I am here for our AEW Worlds End review, joined by my esteemed colleague. You've seen him on Elite Heat. He watches AEW Dynamite every single week with you on Wednesdays live with Chris G. He is the true draw himself. Josh, what's going on?
How's it going, everybody? Let's enjoy the last day of 2023.
Indeed. It's been a great year for us at True Heel Heat. It's been a weird year for All Elite Wrestling. I would say they for all the drama, and we went over a lot of it on True Heel Heat 257 about what I think it was Justin Rich on one of our previous episodes talked about how every AEW pay-per-view this year, Josh, had some type of controversy around it. But I think that is quite easy to see and to say 24 hours later. I don't think there was as much controversy on any other pay-per-view heading into the show than last night.
I would agree. There's just a lot of stuff to unpack when it comes to things we heard, what happened after, all that good stuff. And then also on the other side too, WWE has some surprising news as well during the pay-per-view.
Kevin Dunn fired or released, let go, however you want to say it, from WWE. Any other day, that would be our live stream today. Like if there wasn't a pay-per-view last night, we would have done a live stream today, and it wouldn't have been for Collision. It would have been for Kevin Dunn being fired from WWE, something that a lot of people never thought would happen. That happened last night, and it was kind of buried under all the news coming out from AEW before and after their pay-per-view.
Rightfully so.
That's insane. That's insane to me. But hey, we are here to discuss AEW World End with all of you. We want to thank you so much for joining us live. If you're watching us on demand, we appreciate you as well. Show your appreciation back the simplest way possible. Drop the thumbs up on this video. Share this video with all your wrestling fans, friends, and family on all your favorite social media platforms. If you are new to the True Hill Heat YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell to stay notified for all the great content here. And of course, if you're with us live, sound off in the live chat. You guys are always great in interacting with us. It really makes our streams what you guys kind of sound off with in the live chat. So we'll try to highlight as many of your comments as possible. But of course, if you're feeling generous, you want to give back to what we do here, there's one final day in 2023 to leave us off in December with a big bang. You can send a super chat donation. Any dollar amount matters. We will highlight your comment on screen and we will talk about it. Of course, we got Chinku in the, I think I'm saying that. Chinku? Or you can give me the pronunciation. I usually botch names. You can put the pronunciation in the live chat. He says, yo, SP3, can't catch it live. Gotta work. Overall thought the show was good. 7 out of 10 for me. The crowd wasn't as good as I thought they would be. Thought Mox and Eddie and the main event ended abruptly. Just me. No. I love the ending of both of those matches.
Me too. I don't know. I think people, I don't know what it is. I think people expect a little too much because I was seeing that too. Like yesterday, don't want to name anybody, but it was like in the chat. They were like, "Oh, this finish was flat. Oh, that was flat," and I'm like, I didn't see nothing flat with it. I mean, that's just me. I like both finishes. I think the main event, I think it was more of like a surprise. I think that's what it was, but I don't think it was flat because that's what it's supposed to be. Yeah. Their hometown hero lost, so the energy got sucked out. Like that's how you're supposed to do it. So
yeah, and I thought Bryce Rensburg, though, the referee, he sold that superbly.
Yeah, that's what I thought, and it was like because then it makes you think like, was that supposed to happen? Like, was that the finish that was supposed to happen? But he's actually always been pretty good at that. Like he gets confused. He's like, but I didn't find no issues. I think a lot of people, I don't know, when it comes, especially when it comes to AEW lately, I think people are starting to be a little too nitpicky, at least for my liking. If something is bad, I think you could be straightforward with it. But now, like when you start like going down the nitty-gritty of things, it's like, was it really that bad, guys? Like, I think you guys need to like really relax a little bit.
I will not front, and this is me being honest, not just talking about the show. I've really felt like that as far as the viewpoint of MJF's title run. I feel like because stuff hasn't worked out as well as it did before Adam Cole's injury, they reflect the last 2 to 3 months as the whole reign. And I'm like, no. That's not the whole reign. You could say that the title reign maybe went past the point of expiration. You could say it got stale after a while. That's fine. But you cannot say that the title reign was bad just because you did not like the last 2 months. That's being overly critical.
Yeah, because even in comparison, I mean, like, if this is how you guys feel about this, I wonder how you guys feel about the Roman Reigns run, because he's on cruise control right now. So I mean, like, at least MJF was working. Like he was out there, he was working. Yeah, there might be some stuff that didn't land, but at the same time, this is MJF learning. He's still not even in his prime years. He's still learning. So I don't know. I thought it was a little weird because, again, I thought his reign was great. Again, ups and downs, but mostly good. Because if you talk about like his matches, if you really look at his list of matches he had as champion, I mean, it's untouchable.
Yeah, it's like I put his title reign with that title in like the top 3 of the title's history, or top 2. I think he's right up there with Moxley and Omega. Moxley and Omega would be like my 1 and 2 before his title reign, and I think that you can put him in there. I don't know. I don't think it's the best. I know our good friend Romeo is very adamant. It's the best. No, that's you. That's then you're going the opposite way. You're going the complete opposite of the people that I'm complaining about, who are like focusing too much on the last 2 months and saying that it negates the eight to 9 months before that. but then Romeo will overrate the first 9 to 10 months of the reign and not focus on the last 2 months. No, you have to be fair.
Yeah.
That means the last 2 months means he's not the greatest AEW World Champion of all time.
Yeah, because there was also periods of times where he was kind of part-time-ish too. Until when he got paired up with Adam Cole, that's when he kind of started wrestling more, started being on TV more again. So I mean, again, you could say there was ups and downs, but I don't think it was bad at all. There's things you can still criticize, and that's what I was talking about when I was talking about like wrestler of the year. There's a reason why I picked Ospreay over MJF when it comes to that, because I was like, you could talk about like all the entertainment stuff. Oh yeah, well, you have to look at everything. But I'm like, this man, Ospreay, has had how many 5-star matches? And to me, like, if you do something like that incredible, that feat that nobody will probably ever do again in a year, that's wrestler of the year to me. Don't matter of the promos, don't matter. Like, that's something that's incredible. And we're talking about in the span of what, 4 companies that he did that? Like, he had 5 in 4 different companies. It's unheard of. Now with MJF, with his title run, I mean, he has some great moments. Do I think it was his overall strongest year? And to me, that's where it came down to for me. I was like, was this his strongest year?
I think this is the strongest year of his career. Yeah, because he's got the accomplishments. He was in main event program.
And the aspect,
he was in memorable matches. It's the best year. But you can like I said,
you can still
last year. Last year's a great example. 2022 Wrestler of the Year. It really came down to Moxley and Roman. Roman was like excelling as far as being the draw and being kind of the stable ship that was rising the tide for WWE before they had the record-breaking year that they had in 2023. But Moxley won in a lot of people's eyes because AEW were going through like crises, and every single time, who would they call on? Who delivered for them? Who pulled them out of it? It was Jon Moxley. Like, there's always going to be that little edge. And I feel like with Ospreay and MJF, you could say, oh, MJF is better on promos. MJF had great matches.
That's a given.
MJF
you know what I mean?
Is on, but that's like denying that Ospreay has not improved tremendously on promos. And the Bruff promo before All In is in my top 10 promos.
It's like kind of like if you're comparing like shooters, right? You're gonna like bring up Steph Curry. Oh, he's a better shooter. That's a given though. It's Steph fucking Curry. He's like the fucking greatest 3-pointer shooter of all time. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, bro, that's a given. So I'm not gonna debate that. But I was like, but if you look at the overall like numbers, if you look at the overall like scale of like the year, I mean, it's like, come on, like I'm not gonna look past that.
Big Man Dogs with a great comment here. He said it was supposed to be flat, and then people are mad that it's flat. People hate being worked. That's what it feels like. That's what wrestling now feels like. It feels like people don't like to be worked when that is the fucking point.
He said it was supposed to be flat. I mean, again, I don't think it was flat. I just think it was a surprising ending that
people's description of flat can vary. People think because it was quiet, that's flat. No, he's a hometown hero and he lost. They was always going to be quiet or booze.
Yeah, so it was like, but it's not the first match. I'll tell you, like, it's not the only match that people have said, oh, this was flat. Like, there was about 3 different matches that people have said this, and all 3 matches I disagree with.
All I will say, we're talking about a whole bunch of matches that I did enjoy on this card. I'm just going to put this out in the front before we even talk about the show. This was the worst AEW pay-per-view of 2023. I said it. Let's be real here. I even said it on the Fightful preview to the show. I was like, 9 times out of 10, we get to the end of the night and you think like you're like, oh, you enjoy it. It's an enjoyable show. It's a great all-time show, or you have a polarizing feeling. And the 2 pay-per-views that had polarizing feelings this year previously were Double or Nothing. Double or Nothing had 2 5-star matches pretty much to end that show with the 4 Pillars match and Anarchy in the Arena. The other one that had a polarizing feeling after was Full Gear. And Full Gear, still had one of the best matches of the year with Hangman Adam Page and Swerve Strickland, and a bunch of great matches as well outside of that. So this one, though, I feel like you could just watch the last 3 matches of the show and you'll be all right.
Yeah, that's actually how I felt too.
It's 11, but it's 11 matches. And I would say out of the 11 matches, 4 were very good to great. One other one was good and just fell apart at the end, and then the rest were fine to not good.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Because I don't know, man. I had the same feeling yesterday. I think what it was with Double or Nothing suffered from the placement. Once Jericho and Adam Cole happened, the fucking energy just inflated until like the last 2 matches, and I think that really hurt the pay-per-view. But like you said, they made up with the last 2 matches. I mean, they made up with that. Yesterday it was a mix because not only the crowd wasn't into it until like later on into the show, but then like certain things that came out, it kind of felt like people were either over it or just didn't care. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, and I'll get into that. Like when it comes up, I'll get into that. But sometimes that could hurt a show too, because it's like, all right, why am I watching this? Like it doesn't even matter at this point. And I felt like that happened last night.
It's true. We do have a super chat donation to start us off here from Santa Will Chisholm. Thank you so much, Will. He says, 2023 said, I'm going to give y'all the tea on the last 2 days. That Tony Khan media answer, though, it's just like, no comment is better than the answer you gave. Like, it just read as so tone deaf to be like, it's the safest place. It's the safest place in wrestling. Like, that was a Vince answer. It really was.
Yeah, no, it was. And then and I think Vince probably would try to deflect more with something else. But I don't know, man. Like when it comes to that, I was very mixed about it because honestly, downright, I didn't expect a real answer. And I guess that's just me. I did not expect a real front up answer. Just because legally, I don't know what they could go into, and then that's even based on the owner himself. So it's like, I understand both sides. I understand why there's frustration. At the same time, I'm like, guys, you expected an answer. I don't know what to tell you guys. I was like, that's just me. I'm like, I don't know what to really tell you guys. But yes, there was a answer he probably should have given, but at the same time, we just don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's the outcome. We don't know because everything's allegations. Yeah. There's people who are just outright just believing what happened, right? There's other people who don't. I'm like in the middle because I'm like, I want to wait and see, right? Right? Just like in the justice is supposed to be innocent to proven guilty. Sometimes in social media, well, a lot of times social media is guilty until proven innocent.
Yep.
So it's like, to me, that's a thing that I think we should be more aware of. And, in the situation, it's a very serious situation. And this is somebody that I know who's in the situation. So it's like, I don't want to accuse anybody of anything. I don't want to accuse anybody of like either making up a story or whatever the case may be. Just because there's a lot of things that happen that is like, it kind of feels like it lines up, but then again, we don't know if it's true or not. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's just there's an answer there where you are showing that you care about the protection and the safety of females in this business, because there's been a long neglect of that. And what AEW promised when they were introduced was to be different from what we have come to learn is the standard in this business. And just that information, whether true source, confirmed or not, we don't know. It went through the social media wildfire yesterday. All we can say is that it just needs to be handled, and it needs to be handled well and in a professional manner that protects the people involved, especially the female involved in this situation.
Yeah, I agree with that.
We do have another super chat donation from Santa Will Chisholm. He says, I think it's weird that it's AEW Day One fans who are having problems with AEW now. I understand it's not the first 2 years of AEW, but that high was going to come down at some point. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I don't think it's a lot of AEW Day One fans. I think
Yeah.
there's some of them that have been vocal and complained about, the sports entertainment feel of some things and not feeling like the old feeling. And I agree with that part of what Will's saying, that high was never gonna last forever. Like I was on this podcast and other podcasts telling people in 2021, in the middle of the high, that we should not expect that this is going to last too long. So,
Yeah, I mean, it happens. And I think, it happens is because a lot of transitions, a lot of people leaving, a lot of things happen. And then over time, people's mindsets change. And we kind of seen that with Tony Khan, with his booking and whatever the case may be. Like, there's people who always thought he was a bad booker, Jimmy, but I don't think that was always the case. But now it's kind of feels like shit that is going on. People want to feel like it kind of feels like a gotcha moment where people are like, oh, you see, like I knew, you see, like this was always the case. And it was like, no, this wasn't always the case. We just got to be real about what it is. Like, do I think he's as good as he was a year ago, 2 years ago? No. It happens, but I think what it is that there's too much piled on that I think he needs to not rely on everything. Like, he needs to trust his other people that are there to like really guide the show, or because I can understand why he wants to produce it. He still wants to be there, make sure he has every right to do that. But I think right now there's just too much on his plate that he think he could do it, but it's like, bro, because he not only does this, then he does his job with the Jacksonville Jaguars, which he does have an important role with the team. A lot of people don't know that. Like, he's the head of finances for the Jaguars. So he has full-time jobs. So imagine trying to do full-time jobs while you're producing wrestling every week. You're at every show, well, almost every show. So it's tough. There's a lot that's going on that it wasn't 2019. He didn't have Ring of Honor. He didn't have Collision. He didn't have Rampage. So of course, a lot of things were going to change when it comes to that.
Just give up Ring of Honor, bro. Just give it up. Just give up the book. Give up the pen for Ring of Honor. It will help everything out. We also got another super chat. You guys really don't want us to talk about the show. You guys are just going to send us super chats. We'll just talk about super chats all day, Josh. Jaleel saying, thank you so much, Jaleel. Appreciate the love. Thank you, Will, as well. Jaleel saying, MJF is great in ring and one of the best heels, but his babyface run is cringe. I hate it. Happy for Joe, new champ. Let's go.
I don't fully agree with that. He had some bad moments, but I don't think it was fully cringe because he was still in the crowd. He still worked the crowd as a face, and he was still kind of a dick as a face. So it wasn't like fully transitioned. Now, the only thing I would say was like, yeah, there was times he catered more to the crowd. Like some of his promos, I think he relied too much on the crowds. But I don't think his babyface run was cringe. I mean, you want to talk about babyface runs of cringe? Look at Seth Rollins in 2019. That was cringe. That was cringe.
He's like, there's levels to this, guys. Levels to it. Let's get into quickly what happened on the 0 Hour pre-show. First up, they had a battle of Long Island with Long Island's own Chris Statlander going one-on-one with Willow Nightingale. These two women are good friends, both popular baby faces, and I thought the match was going very well. The late arriving crowd that was getting into their seats got really into the second half of the matchup when they were started hitting their big bombs. You get Willow with the pounce at one point. You get Chris Statlander with a big axe kick. She goes off the top rope with a 450, but Willow cuts her off with a power bomb on the apron. We get shotgun drop kick off by Willow, and then Statlander again kicks out. Statlander tries for the Saturday Night Fever, but Nightingale rolls out of it. The match kind of gets messed up towards the end here as Nightingale turned Statlander inside out with a lariat when it was really, the crowd was like really getting into it. She tries for the Dr. Bomb twice and basically falls over both times. She couldn't hit it all the way on the second time, and Statlander lands on her. The camera cut away to Hathaway on commentary, who was absolutely hilarious once again. Stokely Hathaway needs to be a permanent member of the commentary team, and he was none too upset when Chris Statlander finally took the Dr. Bomb, the babe with the power bomb by Willow, for Willow Nightingale to pick up the victory in this one. This got plenty of time, going close to 15 minutes. The two ladies showing respect for one another after the matchup here. I thought it was a good effort. I gave it 3.25 stars, but really got cut off by like the botches at the end. It was very unfortunate with those botches. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, they both worked really well together. I think they've worked a lot too on the indie scene because they both usually do get booked a lot. Well, before all this, before AEW, they used to get booked a lot in the tri-state area. So you could see it. You can see that both have worked together very well. But I do agree with like towards the ending, like some of the rough spots. I think that kind of like maybe killed it a little bit, but I was glad it got 15 minutes because that's a step. I think that's a step forward for the women. More time, more reps, more time. Could do something for the women.
Yeah, I believe this was it the longest match on the 0 hour pre-show? I believe it went exactly 13 minutes 29 seconds. So I think the Battle Royal went just a little bit longer than this, but like that's a good amount of time for these women to kind of perform out there. And I thought the match was good, but yeah, like you said, it just kind of messed up at the end, fell apart at the end there. We next though get one of my favorite parts of this whole 0 hour, maybe the whole show. A video package with the return of Serena Deeb. The professor is back. She's in a straitjacket, and she's talking about she's been away studying the women's division since her time off. Then we just start seeing her escaping the straitjacket while she's being shown training. She goes over all her nicknames, the woman of 1,000 holds, the professor of professional wrestling, and she says Serena Deeb is ready to return. This was badass.
That was cool to see because I've never really seen that side of her. Like when it comes to like promos or like video packages and shit. So that was cool to see. I guess maybe whatever issues supposedly that was reported with the company, maybe it got resolved because they wouldn't put this much effort for somebody who was either leaving or was put on ice.
I mean, to be fair, they put someone leaving in the Continental Classic.
Oh yeah, that's true.
But
that was a given. I think the assumption was that maybe we're going to keep him under a deal a little bit longer. So it could be that too.
Maybe. Next up, we had the 20-man over-the-top rope battle royale for a shot at the TNT Championship anytime, anywhere, which wasn't really emphasized too much, which was wise not to do it because I did not see what would come later. This broke down where we ended off. The match started with everyone in the matchup attacking the biggest competitors, which was Lance Archer and Killswitch, and burying them under tables. We got Danhausen cursing Serpentico, then he's dumped by Beretta. We get Castle and Johnny TV continuing their rivalry in this matchup. BK, the bounty hunter, Brian Keefe got a nice highlight in this matchup. It breaks down to Danhausen, Trent Beretta, and Killswitch in this matchup as Trent and Danhausen eliminate Archer, and then Trent turns on Danhausen and eliminates him from the matchup. We get Beretta fighting it out with Killswitch, and he's finally put away by a big choke slam and tossed over the top rope for the former TNT champion to pick up the victory in this one. And now he has an open contract anytime, anywhere. Interesting. What did you think about the Battle Royal? I gave it 2.25 stars.
Yeah, I mean, it was decent. I mean, it was like a typical battle royal. Didn't expect anything much from it. When he won, I'm not gonna call him kill switch. I'm gonna call him Luchasaurus. Uh, when he won, I was like, that's a little interesting. Maybe there was gonna be a feud with Christian Cage. I don't know what was gonna happen. That was his way of turning back babyface. But then, we'll see what we see what ends up happening later that night. So
Hey, I don't know. I was like, when he won the matchup, I was like, oh no, this is smart because now you can play with the fact that he's either gonna face Christian or he's gonna face Copeland again for the title this time. So I thought that was interesting. I did not really pay attention too much to the anytime, anywhere portion of this. My only nitpick would be this match or this battle royal should have happened like a month ago.
yeah.
If they're gonna do what they wound up doing, they should have teased it and have it be part of the story a little bit longer.
Yeah, maybe. I think what it was too. Yeah, I agree with that, but I don't know. I'm a little mixed just because I think if you had done that like a month and then that's part of the story, and then imagine at that moment he gets the contract. Oh man.
No, but he has a contract, and they can tell the story of is Killswitch going to cash in on Christian?
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, that aspect, it's just that I think with how it went yesterday, I think that was probably the right decision. Just because I think it was like, all right, if you're gonna just pass it on, just do it now. So I actually like both parts. I actually like what they did yesterday, but I also agree with like that should have been like a slow build up. Like if that was your way of either making Luchasaurus face again or whatever the case may be, that would have been more tension to build up to that. But with the way Christian is going, I mean, I think they got something good here. I think there's an agenda that I think Christian knows what he's doing, and I think he has like strong input in this. So I'm trusting everything they're doing. So I mean, I'm not mad at it. I'm gonna wait and see what happens. But I mean, Christian is on a legendary run that I didn't expect at all. So I'm all for it.
Next, the final match on the buy-in, you had Hook defending the FTW Championship, FTW rules against Wheeler Yuta. These two have been feuding for a while. Yuta comes out, he starts running down Long Island, and then he's drowned out by the New York Islanders horn before Hook comes out in Islanders themed gear. This one is a fun plunder brawl, weapons being used. You had garbage cans, you had the garbage can lids, you had even a hockey stick for the finish where Hook pulls out a hockey stick to counteract a kendo stick, breaks it over Wheeler Yuta's back, and then with a piece of the stick, he puts on the red rum for the submission win. This was another match that got a good amount of time, just over 10 minutes. I thought it was a pretty decent matchup. I gave it 3 stars. What did you think?
It was decent. Like I get like the whole weapons aspect of it just because the FTW title. So I get it. But I think like if they just had a straightforward match, I think that'd be fantastic, to be honest with you. But that would be for the pure title. So I think that's why they probably did that. Because if they end up having another match, that's what's gonna be for.
When they were talking about it on commentary, I was like, yeah, I would love to see Hook in a pure rules matchup. I think he would excel in that form of a match.
Yeah, I think it would be great for him. I think it will be something different, something new, and I think he could pull it off, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Next, we go into the main card. AEW Worlds End main card kicked off with our special all-star 8-man tag team matchup featuring the competitors from the Continental Classic. You had Roosh teaming up with the House of Black's Brody King, Jay Lethal, and the leader of Bullet Club Gold, Switchblade, Jay White, to face the team of Mark Briscoe, Daniel Garcia, who got a huge reaction from this crowd, Claudio Castagnoli, and the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. I love this matchup only because it just gave you all the matchups you would have wanted to see from Gold and versus Blue League. You start off the matchup with Roosh and Claudio getting into the ring with each other, mixing it up with one another. Soon thereafter, you get Bryan Danielson and Jay White, which was, man, they had instant chemistry with one another. Where I was just like, I need to see this matchup. I need to see this matchup. I think that Jay White is the best heel wrestler in the world, and I think that Bryan Danielson is the greatest wrestler in the world. They could create magic with one another, and they gave you just a tease of that in this matchup. Daniel Garcia got targeted for a little bit in this one, getting beaten down, as did a couple of others in this matchup. You got Brody King on the outside getting in Daddy Magic's face, saying, "You ain't shit," and pushing him in the face. You had Roosh making fun of Danny Garcia's dance, because that became one of the stories of the matchup, was the fact that during the entrance, Daniel Garcia's dance was interrupted by Bryan Danielson. This led to some tension between the two of them throughout the matchup. Like when Bryan was trying to hit yes kicks on Jay White, this Danny Garcia tagged himself in, and the BCC would constantly break up the dance whenever he would do it. And then you had Roosh taunting the dance. Mark Briscoe would come in, and really, anytime Mark Briscoe's in the ring, he just brings a jolt of energy. He just comes in, he's going wild, he's getting everybody part of the act. He does a big blockbuster off the apron, then he does the cactus elbow. This one just becomes completely crazy at the end when you got Brody King going at it with Claudio. You get the meat chants in that one. You get Claudio doing the fucking swing to Brody, which was great, with Danielson breaking it up with the big drop kick. We get lightning quick pace in this one, with Lethal coming in, hitting lethal combination on Garcia, followed by a figure four as everyone is brawling at ringside. Briscoe comes flying in with a froggy bow to save his partner. Everyone takes turns hitting their home run shots, but is left with Garcia with King, where he hits a stalling Saito suplex. Lethal tries to come in and take advantage, but Garcia rolls him up with the jackknife pin to pick up the victory for the baby faces. Lethal was at ringside talking to Sanjay Dutt, very disappointed with his performance, with once again picking up another loss following the Continental Classic. Meanwhile, Menard was attacked by Brody King at ringside, and we got this great moment of Mark Briscoe telling Danny Garcia, "Let's do the dance" at the end. This was so much fun. This was your regular AEW multi-man party match, and it made for a hell of an opener. I gave it 3 3/4 stars. What did you think?
It was way better than I expected, to be honest with you. Just because like there's so many moving parts that usually sometimes is like, I expected a car crash, to be honest with you, and I really didn't get that. And I'm actually happy I didn't, because all those guys in the ring, they're good performers. I mean, like if we're really gonna like really break it down, they're all great performers, and there's a reason why they were in the tournament, you know. But I do agree with like Mark Briscoe. Once he got in, like that shit just like completely like took over. Man, he's good, man. I can't speak enough about all the shit that he's been through this year, and then for him to basically just become a singles wrestler, he's really good. Like, I mean, I always thought he was good, like, you know, in a tag team, but like when you actually see like now he's a singles wrestler, he's super talented. He's a really talented dude.
Yeah.
That, you know, I'm glad all this stuff is happening for him. And in regards to the finish, I mean, I was surprised that Garcia got the pin, because he didn't even win one match in the.
No, he won one.
He won
just
one.
Yeah, just one.
Yeah. Just one, and then Lethal got all the pins. I don't think he won anything, right? He lost all of them.
Yeah, Lethal is he did, the Continental Classic did not go well for Lethal at all.
He's like the Detroit Pistons. Well, before last night.
Well, the Detroit Pistons got gifted that one because they had to make trades in the last minute. Like, what the fuck we doing, man? We gotta keep this winning streak, this losing streak. We just trying to make more history. Damn it, we were so close. That would have been history. 29. They just tied history. They didn't make history. Disappointing. Discipline. But yes, I really enjoyed this one, and I like where they're going with Lethal. With Garcia, take advantage of the fact that he has gotten over in a natural groundswell way with these fans. Keep giving him these wins that feel like his momentum is building, and you can have that big moment. I don't know what that big moment will be, whether it's winning a championship, maybe the next international champion. I don't know, but I feel like Garcia is a guy that's on the rise right now.
I agree with that. I've actually liked it. And I like the whole thing about ever since I'm trying to remember when he started becoming more serious again. I think that's where things started to change.
Yeah. We got Christopher Kidd, who says the Dragon Jay White match will be epic indeed. And yes, I thought they were going to do it after the matchup of have Garcia join the BCC. Just do that story again. Do it again. It's fine. We'll act like we don't remember you just did it last year. Do it properly this time, though. The Ace and this All-Star eight-man tag was really good. We got Big Man Dogs, who says, I like the Brian Garcia story. Some of the match was a bit messy for my taste, but it was fun. We got Steven Chambers, who says Garcia is going to have a great 2024 in AEW. DJ Eric saying Brody knocking the shit out of Daddy Magic was freaking great. We got Big Man Dogs, who says 3.5. It was good. Look, my system works. See, yeah, as long as you're close to me, you're good. You're in the money. You're in the good. Dustin, who says good opener, served its purpose. Can't complain. Yes, because I got plenty to complain about with the rest of the card. Next up, we had Miro going one-on-one with Andrade El Idolo. Of course, it was reported by Russell Purist prior to AEW Worlds End that Andrade El Idolo was finishing up his run with AEW following this event. And I thought early on it sounded like the crowd was into this. But then after a while, just when they stopped really being into the matchup, this shit kind of felt like Goldberg versus Brock at WrestleMania 20. Just felt like two guys that didn't want to be there wrestling a matchup. And even though it was physical, it was solid work from both guys. And in a vacuum, I would have said this was a good match. Just the way the crowd responded to it, and it just didn't feel lively. They went over 15 minutes with this matchup as well. They got plenty of time in this match. It went 15 minutes, 12 seconds, but it just never felt like it had too much energy to it. We got some close falls, some submission counters towards the end. Miro went for the game over, but Andrade was able to make the ropes. Andrade worked over the leg and eventually got on the figure 4. He was trying to transition into figure 8, but Miro reversed it. He reversed it back and then did extend his arms and bridge up to do the figure 8. But it was CJ Perry who took out the arms of Andrade, causing him to fall over and break the hold. He stared at her, distracted. Miro hits the Mashka kick for a 1-2 near fall, and then follows up with another game over for the submission victory. Perry smiled at her husband, who didn't seem to know what to think of his wife siding with him, and here we are. CJ Perry returned at All Out. She said she wanted to be a manager. Miro didn't want her to be a manager. She managed Action Andretti for a cup of coffee. She managed Andrade in a tournament where he couldn't have a manager. And now she just broke up with him to get back with her husband. That story's lame. That story's really lame. This match was fine. It was fine. I'll give it 3 stars. I think I'm being generous. But yeah. What did you think?
So this was one of the matches that I was talking about when it comes to the crowd. Yeah, after a while, it just felt like fans didn't care because they know Andrade is leaving. And that was the feeling that I got. Because I even mentioned it yesterday in the chat. And I was just like, the match was good, but the crowd just didn't care because they know this guy was leaving. And even if like you used to hear it when they were chanting for Andrade, people were chanting also "You sold out." Like people were saying that. Yeah. In regards to his future, I know this heavy speculation is he's going back to WWE, right? I don't think it's a good move. One, I wouldn't want him to stay in AEW because he clearly doesn't want to be in AEW. So I wouldn't want somebody, if you're not happy with where you're at, if this is not your end goal of being here, then you shouldn't be there. And I think on a personal level, I think you could understand that, right?
Yeah.
But him going back to WWE, the problem to me is that like he's gonna go back, and it's like, what do you do with him? Because I don't think nothing significant is gonna happen, right? Like me and Romeo was going back and forth about it, and he mentions that the US or IC title. I'm like, bro, that'll be the same exact thing that he was doing before he started complaining about his role. Like, so you're gonna send him back to do the same thing that he was already doing? I don't know, like, and I think the dude is talented. I think he's great. At the same time, Andrade is at the point of his career where anywhere he goes, he's not going to be the face. Like, he's not going to be a top tier star. And I'm not saying that to any disrespect. It's just the truth. He goes back to WWE. He's not going to be on that, he's not going to even be top 15, even if you break it down, top 20. Like, I'm just being honest about it.
I think he can find a place in the top 15.
Yeah, I mean, that's just me being nice, you know what I mean? But it's just more of the placement of like the cards, or like, because if you bring Andrade back, guess what? He's not taking away time from Judgment Day. He's not taking time away from Cody Rhodes. He's not taking no time away from CM Punk. He's not taking away time from Seth Rollins. So it's like, you're gonna put him back, and it's like, what is he gonna do? Now people are bringing up like the whole Santos and versus Andrade. I'm like, that sounds cool, but I'm like, that's it? Like, that's I mean, it's like, what else is there? What I mean?
And also, what people need to realize is that regardless of you thinking, oh, this would be a great matchup, you also have to understand that there is a fan base out there that understands that it's not going to be as great as it could be because it's in WWE.
Yeah, and that's also part of the problem. I mean, like, he goes back, the stuff that he's been doing in AEW, there's a lot of stuff he's not going to be able to do in WWE. That's just a fact. And if you put him you give him like a mid-card title, and you're like, oh, that would be more than what he got in AEW, I'm like, that defeats the purpose of anything, because you can still have a strong run with no titles than having a mid-card title and still have a shitty run. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, like Ricochet was a fucking IC champion. Nobody gives a fuck about it. Nobody talks about it. Why? Because it was bad. So it's like, it doesn't matter what happens. And I think when it comes to Andrade, I mean, he wants to go back. If that's what makes him happy, by all means. Yeah, I think that's his decision to make. And I get, his wife also works there, because I don't think they're divorced or split up. I think that was all bullshit, because he was clearly happy for her when she got the bag. Yeah. So I think he's going back because of that more so, and I totally understand that. But he goes back, nothing significant is going to happen.
Yeah, and and I know Romeo always his big one up to you was oh, Triple H loves Andrade. Triple H also loves Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano, who haven't done jack and shit in the past 18 months.
And
Triple H been in charge.
And he loves Karrion Kross, and look how Kross's run has been.
And he's fucked that up multiple times. He loves Austin Theory, and he had a great US title run, Romeo.
So it's like, again, I said it. I was like, it has nothing to do with Andrade at all. It's just, there's going to be so much on his plate that it's going to be impossible. You know what I mean? Like, you can't cater to everybody.
Kermit out here suggested Andrade be a stay-at-home husband. He don't need to work. He says his wife is rich. I'm with you though, man.
Yeah,
you marry the bag, you stay at home. You work on. You say every time she come home, you try to put a baby in that. Make her stay home even. Well, she got some time off. Let's get the baby making. Andrade, don't go back to WWE right now. You need to make some babies.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know, man. Me personally, I think him just being a freelancer would be a great option because he could work New Japan. That would be fun to watch him in New Japan. I think he'll be a nice fit. He wouldn't be full time, obviously, because he being committed to live out in Japan, I don't think he would do it. And I think he's constantly shown that he won't do it, which is fine. But the only reason why you will go back to WWE is one, financial stability. That'll be the main reason to go back. I just don't see anything significant. It's like everybody else that apparently reported that Polly wants to go back, like Miro, Malachi, Buddy, they want to go back. Malachi, I understand because of his wife. Like he's been open about it, like about them working, like them being separated, working two different companies. It's been hard. So I understand his thing. But again, those guys, right? You're talking about 4 guys, right, that I just named that wanted to go back to the WWE. Out of those 4 guys, who's anything significantly is going to happen for? You know what I mean? It's not going to happen for all 4 of them. And that's just the reality of the situation. Like Buddy, as great as Buddy is, he's a mid-carder. He's not going to ever be that guy that's going to be elevated. That's just what it is. Miro, I think, could be, right? He could be. At the same time, with the roster they have now, he's not getting past any of them. He's not even getting past LA Knight. So it's like they go back. It's like, all right, you go back. What's going to happen?
Yeah. And I understand, like, definitely for him being with your wife, that might be like the thing that trumps everything, because I know he was getting a good deal from AEW, and a lot of the top deals in AEW are like better than 75% of the WWE roster, because that's what they do what they give their top guys. But man, I will say that he definitely did have some great matches, the stuff that he did with Darby and Sammy, the pack matches, the flaming table spot with Cody, the matches in the C2, and his work ever since he came back in June for Collision has been brilliant. I think that he could have went out there and kind of phoned it in the last couple of months, but he did not. He showed that he could still be at top form, and he immediately, when he goes back to WWE, he's immediately in the question of like top 10, top 12 workers in the company. Regardless of where you view him as a star, he's one of the best workers in the company immediately upon signing.
Yeah. Like when it comes to work rate, there's no issue with that. I think we all know like what he could bring. It's just the like we said, like the entertainment aspect of WWE, of what they're really looking for. That'll be their way of just not using him, and that's why I'm like, he goes back, he's gonna get. It's gonna be the same situation. So it's like, you're not happy now. It's like, you're gonna go back to WWE. You think you're gonna be happy then? I don't know. That's
and this is stuff that you have to kind of keep in mind because of the precedent that has been set with people leaving AEW to go to WWE. Cody leaves, goes to WWE, becomes their top babyface, number 2 star in the entire promotion. CM Punk leaves, debuts in the company, he's in the top 3 in the company almost immediately, gonna get a WrestleMania main event. Cody already got his, probably gonna get another one. Then you got Andrade coming in, and you're telling me, oh, he's going to get a U.S. title run. No, that's not the same. There's levels. That's not the same.
And it's like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, okay, like that's the same shit he was already doing. Like, he was already doing that with the company that he wasn't happy with in the first place. You know what I mean?
It's weird. That's insane. I just want the Naito versus Andrade match before he heads back to the Fed. I've wanted that for years. I used to play that in 2K for years. Used to create Naito and Andrade to do that match.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen unless if he really starts where he does like dates with New Japan. That's the only way it's gonna happen. If he goes back to WWE, no shot in hell. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, Dustin saying Andrade run feels like it, but if booked right at the start, he could have been a bigger star. Yeah, they fucked up. They fucked up from the initial, like bringing in Andrade and trying to pair him up with Vicky Guerrero.
Yeah,
They fucked that up. Then they went from there to Chavo Guerrero, which wasn't much of a fucking upgrade. Then he got Jose.
It wasn't an upgrade. It was.
Then you got Jose the assistant, who has way more chemistry with Roosh than he did with Andrade. So, like, yeah, it just never really, they never found a right track for him, never found the right feud that would get him over, never mixed him up with the right people. Like, the biggest star that he would, like, feuded with initially was really, like, Cody, and that was in the Cody-verse era of Cody. So.
The gatekeeping Cody.
Yeah. It's not good. Not good. Yeah, Curvin. Damn. Kenny Omega versus Andrade. Never gonna happen. In AEW, it did happen in AAA. Check out that matchup. That happened.
Yeah, it happened there.
Was in his corner.
Like, yeah. So yeah. I don't know how people forgot about that. I remember that.
I remember that very well. All right, next matchup. We got our first title match on the main card, Josh, as Riho challenges Timeless Toni Storm for the AEW Women's World Championship. This match was pretty simple. It was about Toni really controlling much of the matchup, due partly to Luther getting involved here and there, even catching Riho at one point and giving her over to Toni, which should have been like a DQ or something. I don't know. The ref saw it. Ref definitely saw it. And then Storm attacking the back of Riho, and Riho did a really good job of selling the back, not able to get Storm up for like body slams and any type of power moves. Once Luther was ejected from ringside, Riho made her comeback. She hits the Tiger Fin kick. She hits a crossbody off the top rope. She finally hits the body slam for a 2 count. Storm rolls to the floor, and Riho hits a big dive on the outside. Storm goes to the apron, and Riho meets her with a diving double foot stomp before a dragon suplex back inside. She gets a 2 count with that one. Riho misses a corner charge, and Storm whiffs on the Sweet Cheeks music, but she hits the Storm Zero for a near fall. Riho almost steals a pin at another point in the matchup, but then Storm is able to hit her with the Storm 1 DDT, which is like it's like she starts them on her back, on her back, and then changes it into a cutter, which is this ridiculous. I can't even explain it. It's so ridiculous that it works. It's a great looking finisher, and especially on Riho, that shit looked like that killed her. And then after the matchup, Storm celebrates with Mariah May with the victory in hand. I enjoyed this matchup. I thought it was solid work by both women. I gave it 3.25 stars. It got a good amount of time, 11 minutes, 45 seconds. And of course, Timeless Toni Storm with the celebration afterwards with the rose petals. And she was also fantastic during the post-media scrum when they asked about free agents coming to AEW. She says, yeah, there's one out there who has money written all over her. Wendy Richter, I'm going to fuck you up.
Yeah, that was great because everyone was like, oh, she called it out Mercedes, and then ended up completely left. Not even close.
She's so great. She is so great. What did you think about the match? Like I said, 3.25 for me.
I mean, it was a solid match. I think when it comes to Toni Storm, I think her match is going to be more like gimmick based. It's going to be more catering to that. So anything like the working Toni Storm, you know, like that's not going to happen for a while until she maybe turns back into that. But this gimmick has gone so good. It's been so over that it's like, don't need to do that right now anyway. But yeah, I thought it was a solid match. You know, keep Toni's momentum going. And that's been a good thing with Toni too. It seems like her momentum has kind of like it's still like going up and up and up and up. Like there hasn't been a cool off period, and I think she's been super creative when it comes to that. I've been more surprised with that because she's never been this kind of character at all. Like she's never been a character to begin with, to be honest with you. She's just always been like an ass kicker, like a person that's gonna go to the ring, show what she could do, that's it, and leave. So now, like seeing something like this has been, you know, it's been nice for her. and it raises her stock completely too.
Yes, I think that Tony Storm has very much become a bigger star throughout 2024. So regardless of if you're into the stick or not, it's working. So we should just be happy. If they have some over characters in the women's division, it's not the worst thing in the world. We got Ace who says this match was good. We got T5 Degrade who said, yo, Tony had me hollering in the scrum, LOL. That Wendy Richter line, oh my God, that was great. That was great. Wendy Richter, I'm going to fuck you up.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck just happened?
She totally no-sold the Thunder Rosa fucking question. When they asked her about Thunder Rosa, she was like, who is that? Who is that? And then Tony's like trying to
I like that name.
Thunderstorm. It's like, ooh, I like that name.
She was like, and they kept bringing it up. She was like, I don't remember that.
I don't remember that. Lexi Nair is backstage with Dante Martin, who is discussing his return to AEW and talks about how he came close to winning championship gold and he got to win over a champion on Rampage. And this brings in Orange Cassidy, whose new gimmick is he takes everybody's words as challenges. It doesn't matter if it's an actual challenge or not, and he accepts. So we're getting Orange Cassidy versus Dante Martin for the AEW International Championship this Wednesday, AEW Dynamite. I believe this is like the new graphic design for Dynamite, which I like. So what did you think about this segment here?
I mean, it was pretty funny, and I actually kind of liked what they're doing with Orange Cassidy, like the whole like every time somebody's like talking, he thinks this is the challenge, and he's like, like he
challenge accepted.
Yeah, like he just takes it. I was like, all right, cool. I actually like that. It's been pretty cool to see. Dante Martin, it's been nice to see him back too. It looked like he hasn't lost a beat, so that's a good thing to see. Like, especially after that nasty ankle injury. I mean, I look forward to the match. I think it's gonna be a great match. I mean, OC's gonna win, but I look forward to the match.
We got a good question in the chat here. Stephen Chambers asking, who will be Tony's next opponent? Well, Tony mentioned Chris Statlander, and she's mentioned that on many different occasions. She wants to verse Chris Statlander. Of course, Willow Nightingale got the win on the 0 Hour pre-show, but I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say maybe Tony faces someone on Dynamite in January or the beginning of February, but I think Revolution 2024, Mercedes Moné versus Timeless Tony Storm.
Damn, he's going on a limb. He's going to Hail Mary. Holy shit.
Hail Mary. Because Sean Ross Sapp said on his the Fightful post show yesterday that he is leaning towards AEW for Mercedes Moné. Because as soon as I saw talks no longer or fall apart with WWE, I'm like, the only other place she can get the big bag because Yen is down in Japan is AEW.
Yeah, and in regards to that, I know there were some people who are trying to say like maybe that was WWE throwing some false rumors out. I don't think WWE would do that just because one, you still, regardless of what people think about dirt sheets or wrestling media, you still need that good core. You still need that good faith when it comes to that. If some a company like Fightful reports on something that major and then it ends up being like, oh no, WWE lied, guess what? That falls on Fightful, and then that ruins their reputation. Regardless of what people think, they need them. They need companies like this. They need the Wrestling Observer. They need Fightful. They need stuff like this. It's because it keeps them in the know of things, right? If you want to know what's going on, you want to know who's available, who's a free agent, or any type of real news. You need these kind of companies to, to basically put you guys over, and that's what it does.
Yeah.
Now with WWE, sometimes they report on bad stuff, but guess what? It hasn't hurt their brand. It hasn't hurt their brand realistically. So when it comes to that, I do believe that's what happened. Mercedes, again, her best option is AEW at the moment. I know people are saying TNA. That would be a nice fit. At the same time, I don't see TNA throwing the money out like that. when it comes to Mercedes.
I
And they
think
can.
I
They
think
can,
that,
but they won't.
that whole tease of the biggest signing in TNA history, she
Yeah.
fits the build for that more than anyone out there. So I do think TNA has the money to offer to her, and that is another viable option. I just don't want that because Trinity did all this work. Trinity became a star. It is the face of that promotion after walking out with Mercedes. And you remember what everybody was saying when they walked out, like, oh man, Trinity getting dragged down by Sasha and all this stuff. And then you guys, it's probably the same people that saying, oh, Mercedes should go to TNA. So you then want Mercedes to come into TNA and take the spotlight from Trinity there?
Yeah, and then also because TNA they can offer, because again they also run by a billionaire company, but it's the amount of money they're gonna press in, right? They offered Ospreay a big money deal, they offered Punk a big money deal, but they probably view it differently when it comes to maybe Mercedes, like because she's looking for Charlotte Flair money, regard of whatever amount Charlotte's getting paid now. If the rumors are true of she's the highest paid woman in their history, that's a lot of fucking money that you're paying her. And remind you, she hasn't wrestled in what? She hasn't wrestled in months. So it's like even that would be kind of a risk just because she's still getting off an injury. I just don't see it being TNA just because, again, TNA, regardless of the name, it's still shown in smaller households. It's still small. It's still on a smaller scale. So it's like regardless of what people want to think, AEW is still they're still number 2. They still have a big audience. They're looking for a new TV deal. You bring somebody like Mercedes, that's going to help ratings. Regardless of what people think of Mercedes, she's a fucking star. Like her asking price, I don't think is outrageous. I'm going to say it. I don't think it's crazy that she's asking for a lot of money.
That's why I laughed when I saw this question by Curvin. He says, "Do you think Sasha Banks needs WWE?" And I just laughed in my head, like, no. Like, did you not see the first 5 months of 2023? That was the proof that she didn't need them. She proved herself that she was a draw. She raised the subscription number for New Japan World for Wrestle Kingdom based on the rumor and the reports that she was going to show up there. She sold out Battle in the Valley for them with the matchup with Kyrie. Sold out Resurgence for them, or had a higher ticket sales when they announced her for Resurgence than before they had her on Resurgence. She proved herself to be a top draw. I honestly felt like she did not need to go to WWE, and that would be a 2 steps back in her career if she had just went back to WWE right now, because WWE is a powerhouse. WWE don't need nobody. But
they don't.
Mercedes Mone, right now, she's proven she don't need WWE. And she's her career and her legacy does not need WWE right now.
Yeah, and then honestly, even when she left, like I knew she was gonna be good. It was like we all seen how good she could be. I think what it is with Mercedes is that the reputation, your reputation precedes you. And I think a lot of people when it comes to Mercedes, I think they look at the wrong stuff, in my opinion, right? They look at like the whole oh, she treats her fans like shit. She does this. It's like, no, she treats her fans like shit. The ones that don't fucking respect her privacy. That's the problem. When you don't respect somebody's privacy, you're telling me you're going to be okay with that? Or you're supposed to be a professional? Oh, this person does it. Why this person can't? Everyone is different. But I think a lot of people just look at the wrong stuff when it comes to her, that we run with certain things. Like the whole thing with WrestleMania, because of fucking this dumb fuck, Ryan Satin, wants to, throw basically her and Bayley under the bus. And then turns out it was all bullshit. But nobody wants to look at that. Everyone still thinks that that's truth. Everyone wants to think that's that's what it is when it comes to her. I don't think it's nothing wrong with wanting better with the company, because even if you look at her runs or like whatever the case may be, how many times did it take her to win a WrestleMania? Like how many tries did it take her to win a WrestleMania? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Or like her title runs. There was how many title runs that she had where when she finally got the title, she didn't even defend it. Like she
All
lost
of them
it in
except
her
for one.
first match. Yeah, like
All of
she
them
lost it
except
in
for
her
one.
first match, right? So it's like we could sit there and we could try to say like, oh, like her best option is going back to the WWE, but I'm like, is it really though? Like she's made her name for herself. They I thought New Japan like branded her very well, like Stardom, like they branded her very well because even at the conventions when her banner was up, there's no mention of WWE. You know what it says? It says New Japan Pro Wrestling. When I saw her at New York Comic Con, it had her name. It had Star Wars. It had New Japan Pro Wrestling. So I mean, like, she's a fucking star. Like, I mean, what can we say? And I think her, like I said before, her asking price is very fair, in my opinion, because she's shown she's a draw. Regardless of what people want to say, people want to ignore it. She's shown that she helped this company, you know, she helped them. Like you said, like the subscriber, I think it went up like what 20,000, like within like the first day or something.
For Wrestle Kingdom, it went up by 25%.
Like 25%, right? And it's like that alone, and that was speculation. It wasn't like, oh, this is actually happening. This is the truth. Because remind you, they were very close because Wrestle Kingdom was like a few days after the first, and the first, that's when she was a free agent. So she wasn't even signed when all that happened. She wasn't signed with them yet. So it was like she's shown.
And another reason I want to see Mercedes in like a New Japan, a Stardom, a TNA, and AEW is a similar reason where I heard when Ospreay was saying that he was going to talk to AEW, WWE, and whatnot. And I heard some people being like, "Oh, I want Ospreay to go to WWE because I already know what's it like for Ospreay and NJPW. We've already seen Ospreay in AEW, so we know how that's going to look. We don't know how Ospreay in WWE is going to look." And that's my argument for Mercedes. I know how Mercedes in WWE is going to look. Y'all are every single person that has booked Mercedes Moné's return to WWE has put her in the same programs with the same motherfuckers she was in programs with before she fucking left. I do not want to see this shit again. I'm good. I like new stuff. I don't want to see her and Bailey again. I'm good. They've proven now for what? 8 years? They're never gonna redo Brooklyn. They can have great matches, but none of them will be as good as Brooklyn. They have literally set the bar from themselves that even like Hell in a Cell 2020, that Hell in a Cell match is one of the best in WWE history. But that match is not close to Brooklyn.
And I've said that before. Remember, this dude ripped me apart when I said it was 3.5 stars, and he's like, "What?" Like, I'm like, "Bro, if you're gonna compare it to Brooklyn, to what happened at Hell in a Cell, I'm like, it's not even close because even the Hell in a Cell matches, they did have their rough spots in that match." I was like, and I could point it out. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I'm like you said, they set the bar so high that it's like I don't think it's ever gonna like get. And then also Bailey's just not the same anymore. Like.
Yeah.
She's a good ring general, I think, but
like look at the landscape though. Becky
yeah,
Lynch, she's faced many times. Charlotte Flair, too many times. Bianca Belair, you're never gonna do Bianca Belair is another thing like Bailey. You're never gonna be as big as that WrestleMania match. They're never gonna be able to do that, and that's why WWE avoided ever doing the match again. Remember SummerSlam 2021, like. Rhea Ripley, yeah, she probably hasn't had like a real big matchup with her. That's one. Jade Cargill is another one. But outside of those two, the people that are over and that are stars, she has versed at nauseum. Asuka, Io, she's faced once, so you could do that. And she, like I said, the booking for Mercedes is simple if she goes back to WWE. She comes back in the Rumble, she wins the Rumble. Her and Bailey feud with Damage Control. She beats Io at WrestleMania for the title.
And it's like
that's pretty simple. Like it's pretty simple. It writes itself. That's what they should do. But I necessarily am not enthused to see that.
Yeah, and it's like I was like, all right, cool. Well, it's like that's how I feel about it. It's like, okay, cool. It's like, you know what I mean? Like what? Like, do I really want to see that? No. But I get it. Like that would be the best way to bring her back. But it's like at this point, it's like, do I really want to see it? No, I think she's better off being elsewhere, being a star. And I know there's somebody in the chat who's disagreeing. That's cool, right? You want to say she's not a team player? Hey, there's a bunch of people that are like that. I don't think there's nothing wrong with. I don't think there's nothing wrong with wanting better. Yeah, it's about how you proceed it. I can understand that, but there's nothing wrong with knowing your worth, knowing your value, and I think she has a great understanding of that. Again, of what people will like it or not. We're not here to convince you otherwise. We're not saying like, oh, you have to go by what we're saying. We're just giving our opinions, like just like everybody else has their opinions. She's a star, and she's proven that. It's not an opinion. It's a fact. She did a lot alone for those few months she was with New Japan. She's proven that. So it was like, regardless of how you say, whatever the case may be, I mean, it's a fact. She's a draw. It's a fact. She's mainstream, and I think they've shown that she could do that. And I think, when it comes to her asking price, again, I 100% on board with it. I agree with why she's asking for the money she's asking for.
And Steven Chambers, they answer this. If Mercedes in AEW, my concern is how AEW will book her. I feel like AEW's women's division booking has improved since the fall, since after All Out. There's been much more focus on having different stories, and not just stories for the women's championship and the TBS championship. We're getting more non-title stories and grudge feuds and stuff like that. So I think that the booking overall has improved for the women's division, and there seems to be a little bit more care for it. And also, dude, this is Mercedes Mone. This is not just saying, this is not just like you're booking anyone. They're not booking anyone in the women's division. You are getting Michael Jordan, LeBron James. You cannot still be coaching like you have Smush Parker and Kwame Brown. No. The booking has to change. Like, she is the type that you put into a system and the whole system has to change. That's why a lot of people want Mercedes Mone in AEW, because I feel like she is kind of the game changer signing for the women's division for Tony to dedicate to the focus that we've been seeing in the last few months.
And she's an automatic number one. You sign her, she's an automatic number one on that roster. She signs back with WWE, she's not number one. That's just what it is.
We got Romeo finally woke up. He says, unsafe working environment in AEW for Mercedes. Could get called into a room alone and have a move made on her. Dude, that's not cool. That's not cool. I know you're trying to be funny, but too soon, dude. Too soon.
Yeah, that was a little cringy, even for Romeo.
Yeah, that was there. I was like reading it and expecting to laugh, and
yeah.
Big Man Dog saying Mercedes going to AEW would be like Ronaldo in Saudi Arabia. I'm here for it. That was wild comparison.
I get it because of all the money. Hey, fuck it. Let's make you number one. At the same time, I think Ronaldo was kind of on the down trajectory of his career. I think Mercedes still has a lot to prove.
Indeed. But hey, guys, you guys want to see me get angry and pissed off about things? Here comes that section of the show with the next two fucking matches. Oh my God, I think that these are two of the worst matches that's been on AEW pay-per-view. Mainly this one was because of the booking, because next we get Swerve Strickland going one-on-one with Dustin Rhodes. Of course, Dustin Rhodes is replacing Keith Lee here. Keith Lee announced earlier in the day he has been dealing with an injury for over a year now that has forced him out of action. He was not cleared before the matchup, and Dustin Rhodes stepped up to take his place Immediately, Dustin, upon entering getting on the apron, he's attacked by Swerve Strickland. Prince Nana pulls out a cinder block, places Dustin's ankle on the cinder block, and Swerve comes off the apron with the Swerve stomp onto the ankle, shattering it. We get officials and doctors coming out to check on Dustin. They then say that he can't be medically cleared, and then Dustin says, no, I want to go back and wrestle. And they just decide he's medically cleared, even though you just told us that Keith Lee wasn't medically cleared for the matchup. So you did this angle and then told us Dustin is cleared for the match. What? And then the match is not even a fucking squash. It's not even a setup. Swerve just destroying this man. No! We get a fucking 10-minute matchup! What the fuck is going on? What is this? What is this shit? Swerve took 9 minutes and 28 seconds to beat a one-ankle fucking Dustin Rhodes? Booking malpractice at its finest. No wonder Swerve looked pissed during the post-media scrum. I would be pissed too. You come off of the 2 wins over a world champion in a 5-star Texas Deathmatch last month. You were supposed to verse your former tag team partner. You get given a 54-year-old veteran. You're doing a broken ankle spot with a cinder block and then have to wrestle him for 10 minutes. 10 minutes where Dustin Rhodes, who is one of the best sellers in the business ever, just totally forgets the ankle. What the fuck is going on? Yo, he did a Canadian Destroyer. That I almost turned off the whole show. Josh, you gotta talk. I'm getting myself upset again. Yo, he did a Canadian Destroyer on a fucking broken ankle. Oh my god, what the fuck was this?
I don't think I could describe it any better than that. I'll tell you that much. That was pretty funny.
Yo,
no, I mean, yeah, I get like the logic behind it. I don't know. I don't know. I really didn't pay attention to the match just because I knew it was a thing that was just gonna get Swerve more over. I didn't expect much from the match. Maybe that's why I really didn't pay attention to it. Yeah, I actually agree with the logic behind it. The logic behind it is rough. Man's ankle, I guess, got broken, or maybe, I don't know, sprained or whatever the case may be. And then he wrestled for 10 minutes. Swerve still won, but I don't know.
This is not help.
I will say, I do like the fact that he's just acknowledging that he wants title gold. He's going like this. I do like that aspect. And I do like his press conference where he was like, you know what, man? Motherfuckers just wasted my time. You know, like, he's going to go out there. Yeah, I respect him. He just wasted my time. You know, I'm going straight to the point. So those things I liked about it. And I think maybe it was a thing that he maybe wanted to give him more time. Maybe he didn't want him to have less minute. That's the only thing I could think of, just because I thought the match, if him and Lee would have gone out there, I think it would have been an awesome banger. Unfortunately, Lee is injured. You know, and I get the guy is tough. I will say, I think part of it, and this is just me speculating just because I've dealt with independent wrestling and all this stuff, I don't think it was more on AEW doctors. I think it had to do with the Athletics Commission. And the reason why I say that is because in New York State, they've been more strict with stuff like this. They've been more strict. And if you notice, Keith Lee's been wrestling through whatever injury that he's going through. Now, what people don't know is that NYC, they have like a very strict wrestlers commission where a doctor actually shows up. He does a physical on you for you to just be cleared. And I think that's what happened, because kind of lines up with his tweet. It kind of lines up with everything. They do treat companies that are bigger differently, like WWE, you know, like in New York State, you can't do a wrestling show past 11 o'clock. But WWE is different. WWE is WWE. AEW is different because they're a major company. So even if they was to get fined, that's chump change to them. But me personally, I think that's what happened. I think they got involved, and I think that's why he didn't get cleared. Because if this was Texas or this was somewhere else, he probably gets cleared. He probably still wrestles. But in New York State, they're very tricky with that. And I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm not saying that they got involved. To me, that's how it comes off. Because if he was wrestling through it, so now that it got announced today, I think that's what happened. That's just my opinion when it comes to that.
No, you're definitely onto something, because we always hear about how strict the New York athletic committee is. So that makes a lot of sense. And I am not saying any of my complaints about the show or that matchup had anything to do with Dustin Rhodes. I like Dustin Rhodes. I think that Dustin Rhodes is an absolute pro. He's a legend in this business, and he's usually so great at selling. It's just like, the whole thing just felt like the ankle and the shattering spot, that he was supposed to do that on Keith Lee, and that was going to be his way of beating Keith Lee, and then you just decided to do it with Dustin Rhodes when he didn't even need to do that.
Yeah.
You either do the match. If it's going to be a 9-minute and 28-second matchup, you just do the matchup. You don't do that ankle spot.
Yeah, I agree with that. Or just do the ankle spot after.
Yeah. Just like,
so I do agree with that. I do. Yeah. Like, I do agree with that. I don't mind the time of it. I just think that either should have been taken out, put that shit at the end. Exactly. Send a message.
We got another super chat donation from our good brother, Santa Will Chisholm. He says, do Tony miss Cody that much that he made his brother work a 2023 Cody match? What the fuck, Tony Khan? This is all on you, because you can stop this.
I got nothing with Cody. You know, Cody would have broken his arm, broken his leg, and he still would have wrestled.
Yeah, he still would have won. He would have won.
He still would have won. He still would have won.
Oh, I'll turn it up. I'll be louder next time, Power Driver Finisher. Don't worry. Don't worry. When we talk about the next match, you want me to be louder? I'm not happy with that.
No. I already know what's happening.
We also got Power Driver Finisher, who says Dustin is one of those old guys you love to watch wrestle, even though he's not the most athletic. Yeah, that's why I was very surprised that I had this reaction to this matchup, because it was not booked well. It wasn't booked well. Let's talk about matches that weren't booked well. Anyway, for Swerve and Dustin, I gave that match 2 stars, because I got to go lower here. Next up, you get Chris Jericho, Sting, Darby Allin, and Sammy Guevara coming out to face AEW World Tag Team Champions Ricky Starks and Big Bill, along with the Don Callis families, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Konosuke Takeshita. Jericho came out, and boy, oh boy, did you hear the boo birds. And then you get a sign in the crowd that I don't even know why AEW looked at the crowd for this sign. I don't even know why they did that. But you get a sign in the crowd that says, Jericho go away and Worlds NDA. That is one of the most creative signs that I've seen at a wrestling event in quite some time. Worlds NDA. That is grand.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, oh shit. And it was on the hard cam. I was like, oh man.
Can't make this shit up. Can't make it up. Jericho was heavily booed in this one. We talked about the allegations against Chris Jericho that were brought up on Saturday morning, and apparently a lot of the fans in attendance heard about them as well. There was a lot of fans that were cheering, that were singing Judas, that don't use the internet, but there were definitely a lot of people that found out about the Jericho news and were none too pleased. There were chants of NDA, chants of CM Punk towards Chris Jericho in this one. The match itself tried to be like a party matchup, like the opener. It took a lot longer for it to kick into an actual gear. There was a lot of clunky spots and miscommunication, especially with Chris Jericho and Sting. They tried to do, double stinger splashes at one point. They didn't know which way they were going. Oh my God, this was just a pain to watch. This is now this tops Adam Cole and Chris Jericho for the worst AEW pay-per-view match of 2023, because this was an absolute fucking mess. Not even Sting, who got a loud reaction and thank you Sting chants from this crowd, could save this matchup. In the end, Sammy Guevara hits the shooting star press to pick up the win for the baby faces. This match went 15 minutes and 42 seconds. My Lord, what is with Tony Khan and these long-ass bad matches? I've already had issues with this match being made with that Franken segment on Dynamite, and the match itself did not make it any better. This was hard to watch. I'll be generous and say a star.
I agree. It was more rough to watch just because the match was what it was, but it was very distracting. That's where it kind of took it for me. It was like, fuck, every time this guy got in, crowd just got louder and louder. It's kind of like a LeBron when he went back to Cleveland, and every time he got the ball, everyone's booing him out of the building. That's what it felt like. And it was just like, fuck, that alone for me was hard to watch. And it has nothing to do with Jericho. It's just the situation that I was like, fuck. Like I knew it was gonna happen, but everything unfolding, it was just like, oh fuck. You know what I mean? But like I said, when in regards to that situation, like I said, I think the best option they could do is take Jericho off of TV for a while, look into what happened to what really happened, and then from there to determine what they do, because this is very serious. And I know people weren't happy with Tony Khan's response. Again, it's a muddy situation because you don't want to say anything that could legally get you in trouble, meaning somebody will fucking set a lawsuit or anything. You don't want to say the wrong things. But I do agree with maybe he shouldn't have gone with the whole safest environment kind of statement. That was a little weird to me, just because it was like, you said you feared for your life when CM Punk almost attacked you.
Exactly. it just
you know what I mean?
It's just right. So tone deaf. There is a way to address this situation, and it should always be about protecting the victim in the case.
And
there was just no type of care for the victim. If the person is a victim, whether you view it is as an unsourced rumor or not, there is a way to address it in a way that shows respect to that victim and their claim and their allegation.
Because again, when it comes to all that stuff, again, everything's just allegations. But again, there's a lot of stuff that lines up. There's certain things that might not even be true. So it's like we don't know. The person that mentioned it, that brought it out there, I personally don't think he has an agenda against Jericho. So again, that would be bad on his end if that was the case, right?
Yeah.
Then he'll lose all credibility.
And I said yesterday, we're friends with him. I actually messaged him yesterday and stuff. But I will say here, I did not agree after watching it, because I said what I said yesterday on Trio Heat before actually watching how it was said and how it was brought up. I don't think that was the right way to bring all of this up and to start all of this. I feel like it should always come from the victim. Always.
Yeah, and
Regardless of if that was what he was alluding to when he said it, you know, because he said something and then someone else brought this allegation out that's been there, and it hasn't been confirmed if that was what he was initially talking about. So I don't know if the intention was malicious in that part, but I just feel overall it should always be the victim that vets it out.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it was just certain things that he said. It was kind of like, oh man, this is wild. The comparison was very wild, just because like we know that person that he brought up is in jail for what he did. So it's like, I mean, again, I don't think the guy has a personal agenda against Jericho. It just looks funny to me. But again, to his credit, all the heat is going on Jericho. Nobody's bringing that up. All the heat is on Jericho because it is a serious situation. It is something that, again, we don't know what happened, but then also because it got brought up again, the victim who was attached to it, she responded with like she made an emoji
basically
response
like
that kind of just blew everything out of the water. You know what I mean? That was kind of like, oh fuck, now they got this on their hands. But I want to wait and see what really happens. I don't think the best option is for Jericho to get on TV this week. And I guess if you do bring him on, it's gonna like, what are you gonna exactly do? This is something he really has to think about. Tony Khan really has to put his foot down on the situation. Like, all right, the heat needs to get off of you, and we need some good faith right now, and we're gonna take you off of TV for the meantime until whatever you got to do. And that's what Tony Khan has to do. I think if he's gonna bring up the committee, this is what happens, this is our steps, he has to do that. And if he doesn't do that, then that makes everything look even worse. So he has to do what he says they're going, like what they're about. We hear serious allegation, we always investigate it, and we go through our committee. So he has to do that.
We got a super chat donation from Will Chisholm. Thank you, Santa Will Chisholm. He says, I heard the NDA chant, but did I hear a Kylie chant? Why does this stuff happens to Sting? You have the Jeff Hardy thing in TNA. Then there's Ric Flair. And now the Chris Jericho stuff. And now they might get a title shot. Yeah, it is. That is a lot on Sting, like back to back. First, the Ric Flair signing, which got a lot of heat on it because of Flair's past, and now he's teaming with Chris Jericho on the weekend that everything comes out with him. This is like, man, and it really took away from this supposed to be Sting's final match in New York.
Yeah, and I think it was just, I don't know, it's a weird situation because I don't think it's like the Ric Flair thing. Just because like this news came up in the morning, you know what I mean? Yesterday morning. So it wasn't like they had enough time to like, oh fuck, what do we do now? The whole Ric Flair thing, I mean, it was already speculated and then it happened. You know what I mean? Like there was control of that.
Yeah.
You didn't have to bring him out there and then it happened. The signing happened, right? I just think that it's a little bit different, but I get it. I get the aspect of it. Doesn't take away nothing from Sting. I mean, so it's just, I mean, it's unfortunate for Sting. I'm not going to lie. It is unfortunate. I just think certain situations are just different.
Agreed. We also got Will with another super chat donation. Thank you so much, Will. He says, and somewhere Punk was smiling saying, I'm a cancer, huh? Told y'all I'm not the problem.
I mean, so Punk was the problem. So, I mean, regardless.
It definitely was.
He was the problem.
Jericho can also be the problem, but Punk is a problem too. Like
yeah, that doesn't negate anything. That doesn't negate anything what Punk did. But then also don't let all this WWE good faith stuff fool you. Don't let, he's working with young talent. Don't let that shit fool you, because I'm like, we seen the same CM Punk when he came back in 2021, helping young talent get over. And then what happened? Everything went to shit once rumors started. This is Phil. It's Phil being Phil. I think he offers good things within the company. Like he offers good things. He helps people. Like we've seen that. It's just the bad shit that always happens with Punk. It gets brought up because, again, your reputation precedes you. So it's like, fortunately, that happens. But I'm not gonna just because the shit was Jericho, I'm not gonna ignore the shit that Punk did when he was in AEW towards the end of his run.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that one, sir. You're on your own there. But yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot that there's gonna be kind of more fallout to as the week progresses. So we'll talk about it more, I guess, next week on True Hill.
Yeah, I think the comment should have been like, "Oh, I'm cancer, huh? You're a bigger cancer than I am."
Exactly. That's more accurate. I agree. That's a little bit more accurate. Like it's like when Eric Bischoff criticizes AEW. I would be able to listen to it and take it more like as honest criticism if he would acknowledge that he's trash at this too.
Yeah, not only that, but
if you acknowledge the fact that you're not very good at booking professional wrestling or making a television show as much, or if not worse than Tony Khan, and this is why you are a good judge of what he needs to change and what he needs to do better. If there was more concrete of a statement said each and every episode that he criticizes AEW, then I would listen to Eric Bischoff consistently.
Yeah, and I think with Eric Bischoff, I think it's more personal to me. It's very personal, because he obviously didn't like some of the comments that Tony Khan has said about WCW. So I think Eric has made it very personal, because even his takes about like, oh, now they're just TNA, they don't do nothing. Like, but it's like, bro, you almost killed TNA. Like you try to make TNA WWE light, and you almost fucking ruined it. And now basically the only suggestions he's made about AEW is like, he basically, and a lot of fans, and I noticed this too, like a lot of the biggest criticism that I've seen with AEW is like they're talking about like the whole sports entertainment spectrum of they need to do this more, they need to do that more, they need to grow their fan base more, right? At the same time, it's like they're the alternative. If you want the companies to be an alternative, they have to be different from WWE. The reason why AEW, people love AEW is because of their wrestling, because of the in-ring work. Now, if you're trying to make it like WWE, that's going to be a problem. And guess what? It's already been a problem because they've tried to make it like that at times. The shit with MJF and Jay White, that was very WWE storyline to what they did. So it's a weird thing that fans are saying this and that, but then also people got to remember that AEW is also catering to a network. They have a network that they have to oblige to, and if a network wants certain things, they have to go by it. Why? Because they're the one that's pumping in the money for them. So it's like, I mean, I hear his criticisms. I don't know. It's too muddied for me, just because I like Eric Bischoff.
It rings hollow because he has not been good in the role in 30 years. Like that's the God honest truth. Eric Bischoff's best ideas were 30 years ago.
And they weren't, like, to be honest with you, they weren't original ideas. He stole
ideas.
He stole shit from Japan. And what happened was that he relied on the older guys way too much instead of the younger guys, and it went to shit, And I think that's the problem with Eric. Like, I like Eric Bischoff personally. I've met him twice, and I've always had great interactions with Eric Bischoff. So it's not a personal thing. It's just when I hear him talk sometimes, it's like it's hard for me to like try to listen to him, because it's like, bro, like you're speaking about this on a personal, like it feels personal because you didn't like somebody said certain things, and basically you were told that you're not going to be invited back. I think that plays a part of it too, regardless of if he wants to admit it or not. Obviously there's something there. Obviously there's something personal that's going on that he doesn't want to admit to. I think his pride is too big for that.
Yeah, and it's quite obvious when you listen to the show. You got Santa Will Chisholm with another super chat donation. He says, "Let's see how Phil acts when he got to put Seth and Tomatoes over." Can't wait! I can't wait for Mania.
That's why that's all I've been telling people. That's all I've been telling people. I'm like, wait and see. I think people need to wait and see what happens with Punk then, like trying to give him flowers now. Like, oh, this is the Punk we needed. This is happy Punk. You know, he looks happy in years. I'm like, no, we saw him. He was happy before, and then it went to shit. Like, don't fall for this. Let's see what actually really happens. I'm going to wait until after Mania because that's going to be the real test for me to see where Punk goes before all this shit.
Wall Rads even in the chat, and I'm sorry, I have to break down this comment. He's talking about Eric Bischoff saying he has been good. He had no creative direction control, and WWE got to work on writing this comment a little bit better too. And he was extremely hands off in TNA. No, he was not.
Bullshit. That's bullshit.
That's false.
That's cap.
That's absolute false, because he literally says it on every podcast how hands-on he was. Bruce Pritchard says it on multiple podcasts for TNA because he worked there when he was with them. Hulk Hogan, who lies a lot of times, but he will not lie about the fact that Eric Bischoff fucked up a lot in TNA, even though they're good friends. So stop that. Don't lie. Like that, you can have an opinion, but like what we don't do in our chat here at Wall Rands, we don't lie. Don't put.
And he's like, oh, about the Japan thing. He's trying to say like, oh, that's no, it's not wrong. He fucking said it himself. Hey, I saw all pro Japan did shit like this, so I implement. Like he has said it like himself. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you know what I mean?
And he came back to SmackDown as a creative director in 2019.
I fell asleep in meetings
and had bad ideas. Fell asleep in meetings, was not good for the role, had no original ideas, and was not successful, and was let the fuck go. He didn't leave, he got fired. That's the difference.
Yo, I don't know. I think the guy's trolling.
This is one of the most like bullshit comments I think I've ever seen. I'm just being honest for you. Walrand says you were listening to Greg Gagne. You spelled it right the first time, and then Ganja, he says now. Oh, he's being funny. He says that's incorrect. With TNA, Panda was in control. They were not in control of the creative. They were not.
No, they were not.
They were not. They were in control of the money. That's the money.
Once Eric and Hogan got there, it went to shit. And you could try to deny it all you want. Bischoff himself has said it. Like he had control of certain aspects of TNA. Like that's just what it is. Like
like we're not painting anything. This is actual facts that have been confirmed by the person you're trying to defend. Like that's what makes your whole argument hilarious. We do have another super chat donation from Santa Will Chisholm. He says Eric Bischoff is that rapper who had one hot album and keeps living off of it. Yep. Eric Bischoff is Mike Jones.
Oh shit.
Eric Bischoff is not even a guy that had one hot album and keeps living on it. He had a few hot songs and he's living off of it. He didn't even have a hot album.
Yeah, because if you look at WCW, if you really break down their run, it was pretty rough to watch. It was just back then there was a lot of shit you could get away with. Back then there was a lot of things you could do that was like you can't get away with a lot of shit they did then. Now, like there's no way you could push the people that he was pushing now. There's no way that's gonna be capable.
Walrand, you keep saying he had great ideas. Name one that wasn't the NWO. I'll wait. Like, name one that wasn't the NWO and the Cruiserweights. I'll wait. Name one of his great ideas that he gave to TNA. Go ahead. Cool. And then you'll name one of the ideas in TNA, which will then prove to you that he wasn't hands off. What the fuck? Anyway, Julia Hart defending the TBS championship against Abaddon was next. The crowd seemed into it at the start. They were chanting, "This is spooky," when the two women went face to face. But I mean, Abaddon put on a solid fight. She has a cool like arsenal, but yeah, this just did not connect. It wasn't very good all the time. And then it seemed like they were getting it back together by the end. And then the finish was botched as Julia Hart did the moonsault press following some interference from Sky Blue. She hits the moonsault press where she basically lands on her feet, does not even touch Abaddon, and still gets the win. Not good at all. That was 3 straight matches, Josh. 3 straight matches of not what I would call good AEW. And I mean, this shouldn't be too much of a surprise. Neither Abaddon or Julia Hart are ring generals. They haven't led anybody. They're very young in their careers. I thought there was some good stuff in here, but overall, it just didn't connect. I gave it 1.25 stars.
Yeah, started off decent, and then it kind of just like kind of went a little downhill for me for there. I can't put it on both of them. They're still very young. This was kind of the high expectation on a pay-per-view too. Probably should have been like on a Collision or Rampage or even a Dynamite. I would have been fine with that. It wasn't a good spot for them. I kind of feel a little bad, but I mean, Julia's over. She's over. She has a great gimmick. As long as you put Julia with like good wrestlers that can make her look good, she's gonna get better. So that's all I can really say to that.
And that's the funniest part, big man dogs. He says I rewatched the NWO on the network, and that shit wasn't all that good. I gotta be real. I had no idea so many randoms joined the group so soon. Yes, it wasn't. It wasn't like this magical time, and like I had no. It
wasn't that good. Yeah.
Yeah. Like if you watch it on retrospect,
it's rough. Like when I was looking back at it, I was like, holy shit! How many times they buried Ric Flair, they buried Piper all the fucking time. Macho Man had fucking 4 heavyweight title reigns, and they all lasted like less than a month, like combined.
Like a day. Yeah, most of them were like a day.
Bro, it's like this shit was rough. Like people, like even the shit with Goldberg once he became champion, that shit was downhill after he became champion. Like people don't realize that shit either. Like it was fucking rough. WCW was not great to watch. The cruiserweights were fun. I'll give them that. However, Eric Bischoff didn't see them as a draw. He didn't see really no real value to them that they were going to do anything ever major. So like, you know, you could give a little bit of credit maybe to cruiserweight division, but he didn't see no real value to them for them to either like main event, a pay-per-view or anything major like that. They always had like middle of the shows, stuff like that. So and even with that, they had LWO. So he even tried to rip off what he already did with NWO to LWO.
I'm gonna invite Bischoff onto the show so we can debate about his contributions to professional wrestling. We got in the chat here, Chris saying 2 stars for that one. We got Power Driver who says it was spooky. There was a ghost between her and Abaddon. Yes, there was a ghost between her and Abaddon on that final spot. Yeah, and also they had the house rules, and the house rule was biting is allowed. Yet there was multiple biting spots in other matches on the show.
That's a little weird.
It was so fucking like. Man, I don't remember a stretch of 3 matches this strange on an AEW pay-per-view.
I don't, to be honest with you, I can't recall.
Like that's just a really bad stretch of matches. We got another super chat donation from our good brother, Santa Will Chisholm. He says, this is a match that they should have done on a house show if AEW did them. The match would have been better. This whole middle portion, and even the 8-man tag, which we both enjoyed, even that match, and everything that we've talked about until now has felt like an episode of Collision.
Yeah.
Like an episode in Collision in reverse, because the 8-man tag would be the main event. But it's like an episode of Collision in reverse so far, this show.
Yeah, and that's why it was a little weird for me, like this, watching the pay-per-view. It was a little weird. Yeah.
It hasn't been like this long in an AEW pay-per-view without like a 4-star match. I don't remember the last time you went this long without a great 4-star match on an AEW pay-per-view.
Hey, but maybe sometimes they needed it. So maybe the next pay-per-view they do is going to be fantastic. So if that's what it means for that, I'm all on board because I'm going to Revolution. So I got no choice for that show to be good. It better be good.
Big Man Doug says NWO was cool before they actually started wearing the NWO shirts. I love that. Yeah, when it was just Nash and Hall causing shit, that was the best part. Before the reveal, and then the build up to the reveal at Bash at the Beach, and then Bash at the Beach, and then the month after when they were causing chaos at Universal Studios. Those are the best parts of the NWO angle.
After that, it was kind of like, hey, we're gonna add you in, we're gonna add you in, and we're gonna add you in.
It dies for a little bit. It picks back up at Halloween Havoc when Piper comes in and you got the build to Starrcade 96. Then it dies a little again at the beginning of 97. Then it picks up again, and then it picks up again when Sting finally makes his choice at Uncensored. And then you got a good stretch of like 8 months of great television where it's Sting as Batman versus the NWO. It's great.
Great. And then unfortunately, even that Starrcade match,
and then they fuck it up at Starrcade.
It's like they had their moments, man. WCW and that's the shit with Eric Bischoff. Eric Bischoff had those things where it was like he had it right there in front of him, and he found a way to fuck it up. Like the shit with Goldberg and Hulk Hogan, that shit got promoted less than a week. They decided to do it in the Georgia Dome, which is fine. They drew over 40,000 people. That was a televised show. Your pay-per-view show, that would have been that would have been the highest pay-per-view the company's history. That would have been the highest buy pay-per-view in their history. And those were the things that I think with Eric Bischoff, that's where he fumbled with. His ego got too much in the way that he thought they were just going to stay there. He thought every fucking week they were going to stay there, to the point that he was even making himself like a fucking character. He was on TV and he was doing shit. But it was like, even when you look back at it, it's like, God damn, like, what the fuck were you doing? And, I think he had some creative stuff again, but it was a matter of, I think he leached on too much with what WWE was doing to try to be different instead of just being his own thing. And I think that's where I give Tony Khan credit with AEW, where he's not really, you see what WWE is doing. WWE, with NXT, they were in a situation where like they were trying to hotshot book everything, and it ended up hurting them to the point that they rebranded NXT because of that. Tony Khan has never tried to do that. Like, he's always put on great shows, like a good card, but he's never tried to hotshot book anything to try to compete with WWE. At least on my end, at least from what I've seen. And I think that's where he's really good at. It's like, hey, I'm put on a great card. This is going to be a good show. This is what I'm going to focus on. I think that's where he doesn't get enough credit for.
That is true. We also got here Steven Chambers, who says half of this pay-per-view should have been on Dynamite or Collision. But we finally got to the pay-per-view with the final 3 matches on the show. First up, oh my God. Can I just tell you? Like, I think that's why I've been talking about it in like the lead up about that stretch of matches, because I have never felt more like a match was like a breath of fresh air, or like a drink of water when you're in a fucking desert of awful wrestling, like Adam Copeland versus Christian Cage, because these guys went out and took me on a time machine to the best of the Attitude Era. Immediately, this matchup starts off like an Attitude Era matchup. You get Copeland attacking Christian in the entranceway. They brawl up the entranceway, brawl around ringside. Adam Copeland wearing the same attire that he did at WrestleMania 22 when he faced Long Island's own Mick Foley, and just a little tidbit there, and it should have gave you a clue of what was going to happen in this matchup. He beats Christian so bad that Christian starts running up the stairs, which had me dying laughing. He runs up the stairs. Copeland runs after him, and I was just like, "Oh my god, this is like a TV show of this. This is just gonna be so much bollocks," and I absolutely love it. We get Copeland in the stands. He does a dive off the stands onto Christian Cage, taking him out as well as a pile of officials and security. Copeland, the fact that this man has like a broken neck, like his neck is put together by bubble gum, rubber band, and duct tape, and he's doing this type of stuff, man. I love it. I just love it. We get back to ringside, and this is where Christian is able to kind of turn things around a bit. He starts going after Copeland, stomping on his head on the steel steps outside of the ring, causing Copeland to get busted open above the eye. Ugly knot on his eye, but Christian was just brutal, just stomping his head into it, and then Copeland just busted open, and you saw the knot getting bigger throughout the matchup, which added a lot to this match. Christian would then take the heat, dominating him with a couple of weapons, using a kendo stick to try to break the neck of his former best friend. He gets a steel chair, and he places the steel chair on Copeland's back and sits down into a Boston Crab. This was innovative as fuck. I love this shit. I love Christian Cage, ladies and gentlemen. No one can tell me otherwise. This man's amazing. Copeland would start fighting, fight back. We would get some more shenanigans as ladders would get involved. We get Copeland having some weird like makeout session with the ladder. We get them fighting off the ladder. It looks like Christian's gonna do a dive off it, but Copeland stops him. This what leads to the Christian doing the sunset flip power bomb that Eddie Guerrero did to Adam Copeland back in 2002. So we get a call back to that matchup in this one. We get Christian pulling out a little pole, and Copeland puts him in the crossface with a pole on his mouth. A call back to his rivalries with Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. We get a table set up in the corner, and Copeland hits a big spear, putting Christian through it. It looks like he's about to get the victory, but Nick Wayne gets involved. They set up a table at ringside. They start pouring lighter fluid on the table. Nick Wayne lights the table on fire, but Cage tells Copeland to go fuck himself, but Copeland dodges it. He fights off Christian. He fights off Nick Wayne. He has to pour all the gasoline liquid he could possibly find around the ringside area. He relights the fucking table and then power bombs Nick Wayne. And Nick Wayne is wearing so much non-flammable clothing that this motherfucker's back just slides off the flaming table, and then his head strikes the concrete floor. This is...
I was kind of glad that happened because I got scared shitless because I was like, bro, that shit's gonna fuck. Like, I don't know if it's gonna catch fire or not. I was like, yo, I got worried about that part.
Oh, Copeland gets back into the ring. Christian attempts to hit him with the TNT Championship. Copeland low blows him and delivers the kill switch. 1, 2, 3. Adam Copeland is your new TNT champion in an absolutely tremendous no disqualification match. This right here was the match of the night at this point. This totally woke up this Long Island crowd. They were into every moment, every twist and turn of the journey. You had the big spots, the big moments you wanted. You had the physicality you needed. This delivered on every level. 4.25 stars from me. What do you think about this? Wait, what? After the match, Kill Switch is behind Adam Copeland. He appears and he levels Copeland with the extinction. He picks him up and he choke slams him. He sets up a chair and choke slams him through the chair. Kill Switch has his TNT title contract, and it looks like he's thinking about cashing in right now, when Christian Cage comes in and demands that Kill Switch hand over the contract to him instead. Killswitch looks like he's gonna say no, but then Cage whispered something in his ear. He hands over the contract. Christian signs it, gives it to the referee. The bell rings. Adam Copeland gets up, and in a reverse of the finish of the matchup, Christian hits the spear on Copeland to win the TNT Championship. Oh my God. This was the best booking on this fucking show. I don't care what any of you motherfuckers say. This was brilliant. Oh my God. This was fucking brilliant. I did not expect to see this at all. I was like, Copeland's gonna win. It sets up the third matchup, but this sets up the third matchup even better. He won. He overcame all the odds, overcame the interference of Nick Wayne, only for Killswitch to come out and basically Christian Cage use his manipulation tactics to get back the TNT Championship. Christian Cage is the greatest heel maybe of all time. I need to watch just a little bit more to determine this, but this is a top, in my opinion, this is a top 5 heel moment in wrestling, because this felt like the big kind of cathartic, oh, the bad guy gets what he wanted and gets what he deserved, and then he turns it all around at the swoop, like a snap of the fingers. Like I said, the match 4.25 stars, the whole final portion of the matchup, the finish of the first match, and then the post match, and then the second match. That is a 5-star angle. What did you think?
Oh, I thought it was great. I thought all of it was great. I was happy that the crowd got back into it, because I was like, oh shit, like the crowd is finally hot. You know, like they're finally, you know, there's some momentum here. And then the match ended up just being, you know, it ended up being great. You know, Edge and Christian, you know, they're true professionals, and you see, you know, you see why they're in the position they're at now. In regards to the finish, I thought it was fantastic, because it was like we haven't seen it before in AEW, and I think that maybe that's why that was the complaining at first, that there was people pissed about that, because AEW hasn't done it. Yeah. However, what I like about it is that if you're gonna try something like that, more like a WWE kind of booking situation, you got to do it with two guys who are like more on the sports entertainment spectrum of wrestling. These two guys are that, because they were in WWE for so long. So I think that's why it worked out so well, because these two guys know how to do that. They could pull something off like that. If you just did it with two completely just workers, I think it would have probably rubbed people the wrong way, and I think that probably would have been more justifiable. But it worked so well here because of the story behind Edge and Christian. I mean, Copeland and Christian, but you know what I mean. Yeah. They have a long history together that only, you know, within the industry for over 20 years. So if you do something like that, I mean, it makes sense that if you're gonna do something like that, it makes sense for this to happen, and gives Christian still all the heat, because he fucking manipulated Killswitch to get the contract that he didn't even win. I don't know what kind of fucking Jedi mind trick he has, but then, you know, it worked.
Yo, that's like the second or third time. All he's had to do is just whisper in this nigga's ear, and he just convinces him to just like not do what he wanted to do.
Christian is like the Kermit meme where like he's wearing the hoodie. That's Christian.
That is Christian. He is Lord Sidious. He is Lord Sidious. He is the Lord Sidious of AEW. Christian Cage. Oh man,
it was great. It was. I thought it was a great finish. You know, and it gives you that sympathy for Copeland. Like, it makes him credible to that aspect. Like, it made him look strong, even in the loss, because he had to do all of that to get the belt back. So, I mean, it sets up technically the bell rang again. That was the third match, but when they finally like do it another match, I mean, both guys killed it. They're gonna do it again. So I look forward to it.
They always knock it out the park, and they did so. This was even better than their match in Montreal, which I really
Yes.
liked. I felt not a lot of people were giving it the credit that it really deserved, but man, this one was even better. Like I said, 4.25 stars. I enjoyed the hell out of this. This was the match of the night to this point, and just felt so refreshing after the rest of the previous matches on this show.
Yeah, it was great.
He's saying this match was so good. Frantic World says, yep, this was an old school WWF Attitude Era match, and I love it. We also got Big Man Dogs. He says, Christian is working smarter, not harder, and I love to see it. We got Frantic World. He says, you could tell that Adam Copeland was having fun. This felt like the first time that we got like peak Edge in AEW. Like in the ring, as far as like what Edge can give us, Copeland can give us in the ring. This felt like this is the bar that you now have to keep up on every pay-per-view.
Yeah, I agree.
We got Big Man Dogs. He says, my match of the night, 4.5 stars. We got Power Driver Finisher, who says, as someone familiar with lighter fluid, yes, those bitchin' the last time they didn't need to use a lot of lighter fluid. You do to be able to make a good enough flame. Indeed, they do. They do.
Because they burn out quick.
Yeah.
Once it flares up, it burns out quick. That's why they use it in wrestling. If you use any kind of liquid, because I've seen it happen too, like in some recent shows this year, motherfuckers don't know what the hell they're doing. They use the wrong shit, and then they get completely caught on fire. Like,
we got Power Driver Finisher. He says, Christian's gimmick is getting lucky. Lucky with titles, getting lucky with a group of younger talent backing him up, and lucky with Mama Wayne. Two-time TNT champion, Mr. Luck, Christian Cage. Eddie Kingston going one-on-one with Jon Moxley in the AEW Continental Classic Finals was next up on this show. We got to see the new design for the Continental Championship belt, which I really liked even from this graphic before we actually even saw the actual belt. And I love this shot here of Kingston watching Moxley come through the crowd. And this was so much different from the last match, but just as great. Early on, you get Kingston trying to bring the fight to Moxley. He goes crazy on this suicide dive where he just launches himself and hits his head hard into the barricade. This leads to these two guys just beating the holy hell out of one another for most of this matchup. And the best part about it is you have Bryan Danielson on commentary, who's bringing this more of a sports feel, but also doing it in storyline, rooting for Moxley, calling Bryan a bum throughout the match. He's like, he's a bum. You don't let this bum beat you. Don't let this bum.
That shit was hilarious, yo. That I was dying because I was like, yo, he's calling him a bum. He was like, he even said at one point, I can't believe I lost to this guy.
Bryan was great. Yo, anytime AEW might be the king of guest commentary, because guest commentary, anytime someone's on guest commentary, I always be like, oh yeah, that was a highlight of the night. But yeah, that was really good. You had Kingston talking shit to Moxley, talking down to him, telling him to give up, which always seems to motivate and drive Kingston to start firing back with big, heavy chops. Joe, Kingston is the king of the chops. Like, his chops just sound like a leather strap. It's just going across these people's chest. That's how his chops just sound like. It just sounds so brutal. You get Moxley with some suplexes. They start trading off half and half in German suplexes to the floor again. This time you get Moxley hitting a big paradigm shift before waiting for Kingston to beat the clock. Danielson, that was at the point that Daniel said, I can't believe I lost to this guy. As Kingston shook off the neck pain back inside, trying to use a chop, but Moxley blocks it using his forearms, which really kind of fucks up the forearm of Kingston, and Moxley goes after that a bunch of times throughout the remainder of the matchup. Moxley got a power driver. He sinks in a STF, but Kingston bites his way out. They start trading some lethal chops to one another, ending with Kingston hitting a big Northern Lights bomb for a very close near fall. Kingston hits an exploder, but Moxley pops back up, but he stumbles right into a spinning back fist, only to have Kingston crumble. Both men rise to their feet, and we get this cool shot where they're just like, come on, motherfucker, come on. They get in each other's faces, and then we just start going off. We get Moxley with the cutter, and then the King Kong lariat. He goes for a Death Rider. Kingston counters with the Northern Lights bomb, transitions into a Bulldog choke. Moxley gets a Bulldog choke of his own. The finish of the matchup is just one of my favorites of the whole entire year. You get these two exchanging headbutts. They exchange knees to the head, which Moxley's wins. Then we just go straight on fucking New York, Josh. Motherfuckers had a slap fight. They had a slap box. Motherfuckers went and had a slap box. I was like, yes, this is so New York, and he's gonna win. And then he did. The slap box leads to him hitting the Jurgen for a fourth time. 1, 2, 3. It was like a shocking result of how it happened, but it was a flash knockout. This was an absolutely phenomenal matchup between two guys who love Japanese pro wrestling, and they went out there and had something as close to what you would see in a New Japan main event or an old school All Japan main event. This was brutal, violent, physically intense, and absolutely superb. But Eddie Kingston is the winner of the first ever Continental Classic tournament, and he is the first ever Continental Crown Champion, Triple Crown Champion. He retains the Ring of Honor World Title. He retains the NJPW Strong Openweight Championship. And finally, Eddie Kingston has won gold officially in AEW. And after the matchup, Kingston hugs Moxley. This was the story that puts a perfect bow on this tournament as one of the greatest things AEW has ever accomplished. Eddie Kingston was the right choice for the winner, and this match was excellent. 4.5 stars. What did you think?
Match was fantastic. Loved every aspect of it. I think before going in, I was like Kingston was gonna win, just because, you know, I know people were saying like, oh, he already got his big win in Grand Slam, but I'm like, no, like, you got to keep the momentum for this guy. You know, he's proven himself enough to be in this position that he's in now. You know what I mean? Like, so he was the right pick. I love the fact that it was between Mox and Kingston, just because, again, the story with them comes all together, and then all they needed was that segment after on Wednesday. That's all they needed. They didn't need no real build up, because there was already a build up. There was already history, so you didn't need a real build up. All you needed was that one segment, and it was like, all right, we're gonna get a fucking banger, and that's what we got. I did get worried, because when he fucking banged his head on a damn barricade. I was like, oh my God. At first I thought he landed on his head on the floor, and I was like, oh fuck. But then when I saw he hit the barricade, I was like, I guess that's better, but that still fucks you up. Because
I guess that's better. When the barricade is better, that's how you know the other result is worse.
Yeah, because if you land your head, guess what? You could, like you could possibly break way more because you're landing straight to the ground. But if you hit a barricade, that's basically breaks your fall. Even though, it still fucking hurts. Don't get me wrong. But I got a little worried. But then, he's always been a good seller too, because he was selling the shit out of it for like the last few minutes. He was selling the match.
The match was all about the selling, because it was about selling what they had been throughout the tournament with their different injuries.
Yeah.
And it was just all about strikes and selling. And that just made me just get into this matchup so much. Like, it just, you invested into every single moment, and that made that ending, it was like a 3-pointer at the buzzer.
That was great. The fucking And then the way he pulled that off too, because it was just slap, 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 boom, and then he did his finisher. Like I thought that was fucking great. But also with Kingston, what I noticed with Kingston too, at least with this year, he's kind of embraced the strong style a lot more too. Like he's always been a striker, but he's really embraced the strong style like aspect way more like the last like year and a half or so. And then this year you see it more so. And then with the tournament, you saw it a lot. Like you saw it with Danielson, and then you saw it last night. So I mean, I think this is it's a good thing for him because he could keep going longer even in his career. If you have this kind of style, you could keep going and going. But I think the right person won. I also love, just like my thing, I loved his reaction to the title. Like when they present him the title, I loved his reaction because he genuinely just looked like he was overcome with emotion. And it was a great moment. I mean, great fucking match. I was glad it was a great match. I mean, I knew it was gonna be great, but he's finally getting his due, and I think this is what people wanted. But and I was telling people for a long time, you don't necessarily need to be a world champion to get your due. You could do in other aspects, and Kingston is doing that. First, it was with the what was it? Which title did he get first? Did he get the strong title first, or did he got the strong title first, and then he got the Ring of Honor title? So he ended up having 2 titles, and I was like, oh shit, he finally got belts. Now he has a fucking 3rd belt, and I prefer that for him. I mean, hey, he don't need the world champion. He's still performing 3 different promotions. He has a belt for 3 different things if you think about it. Ring of Honor, AEW, New Japan. So dude's been killing it. I'm happy to see that.
Love to see it. Got a bunch of people showing love to the matchup. Steven Chambers saying Eddie and Mox match of the night. We got Power Driver Finisher saying I love it when they just collapse on their opponent for the cover. Yeah, that's always good.
That was great. Yeah,
it's always good. And then you had finally the main event of World's End, Josh. And we had a surprise person to be at ringside for our main event. After MJF made his entrance, Samoa Joe already in the ring, we had a very long pause, like where they weren't saying anything, where the Max's music had stopped. And then finally, Adam Cole's music hits, and he comes out. He comes to ringside to be by MJF's side for his title match against Samoa Joe here. We get I love the intro for MJF for his entrance, featuring folks from Long Island painting MJF as the never say die babyface and saying that he is their scumbag while putting on the Bearberry scarves. I love the one Wise Guys one where the guy was like, I'm not gonna say that, and they come over with the Bearberry scarf and they beat him up and make him say it. Well, we got Adam Cole coming down, and then MJF was introduced as being from the most magical place in the world, Long Island, New York. MJF early on, he gets the advantage with an early eye poke, and then charges at Joe in the corner. Joe plants him right on the bad shoulder with a Uranagi and really starts like trash talking and stomping away at Long Island's hero. Joe no-sold a chop from the bad arm and hit his combo of atomic drop, big boot, and senton right to the arm again. MJF escaped a muscle buster and low bridge Joe to get enough time to recover and get a few near falls. MJF took too long to go for the kangaroo kick as Joe hit a slingshot over the rope, but MJF tried to skin the cat and he ate a charging boot. On the apron, it looked like Samoa Joe was about to hit the big muscle buster, and he does, right on the bad shoulder on the edge of the ring frame. Adam Cole with a great expression, priceless, of how horrified he is seeing that one. Joe puts him back into the ring and he gets a near fall. He wants to go for a proper muscle buster, but this time MJF escapes and he drives Joe's head first repeatedly into the turnbuckle. He bites Joe in the head. See, should have house rules. And then he wanted the kangaroo kick, but he failed. He failed once again as Joe kicks him out of midair. Joe went to the second rope and MJF cuts him off. MJF wants to go for a Death Valley driver, but he gets cut off by Joe. He winds up connecting flush on the arm with a double foot stomp and then goes for the heat seeker, but Joe's able to fight his way out and avoid another attempt before MJF rolls through and applies the salt of the earth. Joe rolls through and he gets an arm breaker of his own on the bad arm, but eventually MJF rams Joe into the referee, Bryce Remsburg. This allows MJF to hit a big low blow to Joe when he gets on the top rope again. And then he's able to pick him up. He actually lifts Joe on his shoulders, walks to the center of the ring. I thought he was going to do an AA. This motherfucker busts out an F5. I was like, holy shit, I hate MJF. MJF wanted Cole to then give him the Dynamite Diamond ring, but Cole takes too long, eerily similar to how Wardlow didn't give him the ring at Revolution 2022. Oh no, okay, we'll get back to that. Took too long to find it. It leads to Joe locking on the Coquina clutch, which MJF nearly gets the Bret Hart Roddy Piper WrestleMania 8 pinfall, but he only gets a 2. Joe reapplies the choke, tries to he puts his head back so MJF cannot fight his way out. The referee picks up the arm. Once, it goes down. Twice, it goes down. We have been taught in wrestling history for the past 50 years that every time a babyface gets the arms up and down spot, they're always going to get their arm up on the third spot. But then it didn't happen. And the referee's like, what? Wait, what? The crowd is shocked. Bryce Remsburg calls for the bell. The crowd is speechless. No one realized the match was over. But then it is said, Samoa Joe is your new AEW World Champion. He celebrates. The realization finally hits the crowd. Joe heads to the back with the AEW World Championship as the crowd starts chanting, bullshit, bullshit. You get Cole in the ring trying to talk to MJF, trying to let him know you did everything you could have. You did everything you could have. You fought your heart out. You fought your heart out. You're a champion. He's trying to talk up his friend, but MJF is distraught. At this point, the devil and the henchmen come out. They look like they were about to blast MJF with a chair, but Adam says, hit me with the chair. Before they hit Adam Cole with the chair, the lights go out. And when they come back on, Cole is sitting in the chair with the masked man around him. The masked men reveal and take off their masks, and it is none other than Wardlow, Roderick Strong, and the OGK, Mike Bennett, and Mike Taven. MJF is distraught. He says, how could you do this, Adam? How could you do this? You were my best friend. Roderick Strong blasts MJF with a running knee strike. They give him to Wardlow, who gives him the Powerbomb Symphony. And then Adam reveals the mask of the devil to officially reveal himself as the man that has been making MJF's life a living hell. But now we have a new top heel group in AEW. Adam Cole and the Devil's Henchmen are Wardlow, Roderick Strong, and the Kingdom. I thought the post-match angle was very well shot, especially the lights out and then the lights come back on and Cole's sitting in the seat. Very well done. I thought this was laid out, and the whole presentation of the final reveal, very well done. The match, MJF and Samoa Joe, I thought it was a great match, great main event to the show. I thought MJF did a much better job of selling his real life shoulder injury in comparison to the fake knee injury that he did at Full Gear. I thought I gave this match 4 stars, but the angle I thought was really well done because everything makes sense. That's all you needed to do. You didn't need to swerve anybody. You needed to make sense. This does. What did you think?
Match itself was great. There was a few spots that scared the shit out of me, like when he did the muscle buster on the fucking side of the ring. That scared the shit out of me. I was fine with the finish. Like that was one of the parts where everyone was like, "Oh, this was flat," and I'm like, "What was flat about it?" It was more of a shocking finish. That's what it was. People didn't expect it. That doesn't make it flat.
Yeah.
But it was great. I mean, I thought it was great. When it comes to the end angle, I loved it. I love the fact that it's Adam Cole, regardless of what people want to say. Oh, they should have. Who the fuck was gonna be the double? Honestly, like who the fuck did anybody want, right? And then everything else, if you think about it, the reason why it made sense is because everyone had an agenda, right? Everyone in the group has an agenda. Now the whole thing with Jay White makes sense because he wanted revenge on Jay White for taking him out in 2022. That's why he attacked him and got that shit out of the way.
He attacked Hangman because Hangman is the person that beat him to leave Ring of Honor and is his first failure in AEW.
Yep. He beat up Hangman Page because of that. He beat up the Acclaim. They beat up the Acclaim because they helped Max. You know, so everything made sense. Everything came together. But then also, this was also an angle. This was an angle where all the little details you had to pay attention to. Like when it came to like the whole mask thing, this was already like an indication. The mask was hanging behind them. That was the first like indication of what was to happen. So everybody that was in the situation, it made sense. But I was playing along with yesterday, and I was just like, "Yo, did any of y'all notice? Yes, about this?" And I was like, "Roderick is healed." Yo, I was like, "Yo, he's healed. He's healed." Fucking threw the flying knee like nothing, but it was just funny. Like everything came together, and again, all parties made sense. Like Wardlow feels like he never got like his satisfaction with beating MJF. He never got like that big push that he thought he was gonna get after beating MJF, you know, and he squashed him. Remember that he squashed the shit out of him, and he went on this run and nobody liked it. And then MJF still got gifted a world title, and that's why he was involved. But I also like the fact that they still got away from it. Like they were still doing their angles, like Roderick, Matt, and Bennett. They were still doing like their stuff. Wardlow was still doing his stuff with like towards MJF. So I actually like the fact that they were still doing that, just because I think it would have been a little too much. Like if they would have just gone away, nothing happens, and then they get revealed. So I actually like that aspect. But hey, I mean, it wasn't Jack Perry. That's a good thing.
Exactly.
People thought it was gonna be Jack Perry, and I was like, that's a good thing that it wasn't Jack. So
exactly. That's what I am hopeful. I think people need to realize that regardless of if you like the Devil storyline, you didn't like this Devil storyline, you thought it was a hit, you thought it was a miss, I think that the best part of the whole angle starts now. It starts now. It's not anything that happened in the past few weeks. It's what's gonna happen when Adam Cole is now a heel and with these guys, and he's just perfect as the leader of a heel stable. He's just always been. And this is going to be helpful for Roderick. It's going to be helpful for the Kingdom. They get their biggest role yet in AEW. Same for Roderick and Wardlow. Wardlow, he's not ready to be a world champion, regardless of those people who thought, oh, Wardlow was going to be the person who beat MJF. I was like, I hope not, because he's not ready for that.
Yeah, and then also, I mean, but also like what I like about this angle too, that if you think about it, it was kind of a slow double turn. Because remember, when Adam Cole joined up with MJF was the heel.
Yeah,
Adam Cole was the face, and now the roles are switched, where this was Adam Cole getting the upper hand on MJF, but now because MJF is a face, it turns Adam Cole heel for what he did, for the agenda that he had in the beginning.
Yeah, but and everybody's got what they wanted, like you said. Wardlow gets revenge. You get OGK get their ROH tag team titles, and Roderick Strong gets his friend back. That's all that matters to me. And people asking, oh, why would Adam Cole want to ruin MJF's life? And wouldn't the real goal of this be him becoming world champion? The goal changed when he broke his ankle. Because what did MJF keep telling us afterwards? He broke his ankle. Why? Because of Max. So the whole story starts with Adam Cole basically coming out to confront MJF to get back to his former glory, to once again go for the AEW World Champion. And MJF basically told him, dude, in high school you was the man, homie. What the fuck happened to you? And Cole proves that he can be on his level in the time limit draw. Then he gets sidetracked with their partnership in the Blind Eliminator and being a tag team and becoming friends. And then he loses at Wembley Stadium and then breaks his ankle to go right back to where he was before he first met up with MJF. Like, yeah, that's enough of a reason to ruin someone's life. Makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah. There's one comment I kind of from Steven Chambers. Really surprised, no collar. I wasn't surprised. I don't think you put him in a spot like that, just because again, everybody that was used in the group, they're active. Kyle O'Reilly's been out for over a year. I don't think that would have been a good spot for him. The way you bring O'Reilly back is make it clear, yeah, he's coming back, and you know, and then you have him put on great matches. I think that's the best way. I don't think you bring him back in an angle like this.
Yeah. He can be added to the group later, but you want to give him that by himself since he's coming back after so long. If he comes back in this, it's more about Cole being revealed as the devil than Kyle O'Reilly returning.
Yeah, that would have taken away from it completely.
Yeah. But it brings us to the end of AEW Worlds End. We've reviewed another AEW pay-per-view, so let us know in the live chat. Final call for super chat donations, but we most of all want to hear, what was your match of the night? MVP, LVP, thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle for the show, and out of 10, what did you give the show? For me and the True Jaw Josh, for AEW Worlds End, in 3, 2, 1. It's like that. It's like a slight thumbs up. What did you give the show out of 10? You're going thumbs in the middle.
I'm like, yeah, mine's is like this, like a little bit of. It's like mine's is like a 6 out of 10, 6.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm like trying to because in my head. After the show, I was like, yeah, that's a 7. That's a 7 because of the final 3 matches. Final 3 matches are all over 4 stars. The opening matchup was very good. Yeah. I like the women's title matchup as well. But yeah, it's on the low end of the AEW pay-per-views.
I'm over 7.
I think 6.5, 7 is where I'm at. I'm between those.
Yeah, me too.
I think I'm gonna lean to 6.5. So you go.
It's that middle part that really hurts the show. Is that middle part, because even like if you have Swerve versus Lee, I think it's a different argument in my opinion. I think it's a different argument. Unfortunately, you know what happened. But that middle part really kind of does it for me. Like it was really pretty rough. You know. Like Miro and Andrade, that was a good match, but then the crowd was just out of it because they knew Andrade was leaving. So that also hurt the match. Like that also hurt like the focus on that too, in my opinion.
It's true. So yeah, I'll go 6. I'll go 6.5. I think that's where I'm gonna land on 7. I'm sorry. Kristen and Copeland. Oh my god.
Yeah, Christian Copeland alone was great, and then
Monson, Kingston.
Yeah, that's
and the main event.
Yeah, and the main event was still good. So it was like they still had the last 3 matches were good. Oh, what the hell? He just left. Oh, damn, look. I think his connection probably got lost. I was like, yo, where he went?
I think he's out of here. Back. Yeah, they always back me out of here when I'm busy doing stuff. All right. Oh, who
I was
is
like, yo, yeah, I was like, wait, where'd he go?
I don't know. I don't know what happened. It's one of those things where they go back. I don't know. But what was your match of the night, Josh?
I think I'm gonna go with the Continental Finals. I really loved how both guys just, they killed it, and it was an overall great moment. Yeah, Kingston got his moment at Grand Slam, but I think this is probably even a little bit bigger.
Man, it's tough because I rated Kingston and Moxley the highest on the show, but I think I'm gonna have to go with my match of the night being Copeland and Christian because I'm the type of person that I can say this match was the best match on the show, which I think Moxley and Kingston was, but my favorite match on the show was Copeland and Christian, so that's why I'm gonna give it match of the night.
Yeah, I think that's fair because I think we could also there's matches that could be great. It might not be your favorite match. Like it's understandable. I think that's a good. I mean, it's still a good pick because they're both. I mean, again, overall, great matchup, funny finish, like all that shit was great. Like some heel shit.
Who was your MVP for the show, Josh?
Christian
Cage, absolutely. I'm gonna go MVP Eddie Kingston, Adam Cole, and Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe, I don't think anyone thought when Samoa Joe came into AEW in April 2022 that we would be talking about heading into 2024 Samoa Joe AEW World Champion. And that says it all. And like we really kind of had our eyes opened about his year when we did our tier list for the AEW roster. But just think about this year for him. He starts off the year in that great TNT title program with Darby Allin, loses the TNT title to Wardlow while still being ROH TV champion, has a great match with Mark Briscoe at Super Card of Honor for the TV title. Then he gets before he gets involved with MJF, he's in the whole program with CM Punk, one of the top stars of the Collision early days, and him and Punk nearly steal the show at Wembley Stadium after Punk just punched out somebody backstage. Then he goes from there to a great 2-week program with MJF going into Grand Slam. And then what he's done in the main event scene since then, and in the end of the year as AEW World Champion, this is one of Samoa Joe's best years of his career. I would say this is the best year of his career since 2008 when he was TNA Heavyweight Champion.
Yeah, I actually agree with that because they made him look credible. I don't think they get enough credit for that because like if you look at Samoa Joe's like run, they made him look like a fucking badass. And I think that's where WWE lacked in. Like there were moments that he looked good, but then it was like, all right, he's on face Brock and he loses in 6 minutes. All right, he had 2 wins against Roman Reigns, but then against the main win to get over Roman Reigns, he loses. So he never really had those big moments with them. And then unfortunately, he gets the concussion and then he gets put on ice. He becomes commentator. Then he gets released out of nowhere, which was just dumb because I thought he was really great in the commentary team. Yeah. They bring him back. He's kind of like a scouting thing. Like he was doing scouting for them. And then he gets released again. So he was in this thing that we didn't know what we were getting with Joe, unfortunately, and then even when he did go back, like when he was at NXT, he did have that match, but then he got put on ice again. Oh, he got injured. It was something that was like, fuck, like, where do we go from here when it comes to Joe? And signing with AEW has been the best thing for him because he's looked credible again. He's looked like one of the best performers in the world again. And, I thought they put the original plan. I mean, obviously the original plan was Adam Cole to win. But if you're going to go with somebody, I thought he was a good pick because there's history there with MJF because of what happened. I thought they made the right choice. If you're going to change the titles now, they did make the right choice, regardless of what people might want to say, and, again, it gives Joe another notch in his belt, right? Deservedly so. I mean, I don't usually use the term a lot, deserving a lot in wrestling, just because there's some people who get in a big moment and then, they cash in and shit works out for them. There's people who are deserving, nothing happens for them. I just think Joe is on the spectrum where I could say he's deserving of it because he's put in the work. Everything he's been through, it's paid off.
Yeah, most certainly that. So yeah, props to Samoa Joe with the revitalizing his career in 2023 and ending it off as AEW World Champion. But that brings us to a close on our AEW Worlds End review.
We gotta do LVPs.
Oh, LVP, my bad. I nearly forgot. LVP of the show, of course, it's Chris Jericho.
I was about to say that. That's why I wanted to say it. It's Chris Jericho.
See,
can't be nobody else.
I literally, in my mind, I thought we already agreed that it was Chris Jericho. That's why I was about to go to the close of the goddamn show, because I was like, no, it's already Chris Jericho, so we don't even need to ask. But yes, Chris Jericho is my LVP. and the booking of Swerve versus Dustin Rhodes.
Yeah, I think that gets more of a pass compared to the shit with Jericho right at the moment.
Yeah. No, it's Jericho and Tony Khan. Jericho and Tony Khan, because Tony does the format of the show, and that whole middle portion. Yeah, you earned yourself the LVP, sir.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But yes, that brings us to a close on another pay-per-view review and the final review of a pay-per-view for 2023 and our final video on the True Heel Heat YouTube channel for 2023. Want to thank Josh for joining me. Please, Josh, let the people know where they can follow you on social media and when they will see you next.
You can follow me, JMPunk321, Twitter and Instagram. Hopefully I'll be back Wednesday for Elite Heat. There's been some conflicts with Chris's schedule. I think he's a semi basketball player or something, because he's been playing some basketball games. So when he's available, we'll do the next show. So I don't want to guarantee anything yet, but that's the goal I'm going for. We're trying to go for Wednesday at least.
There we go. You can follow me on the Twitter machine at True Heel SP3. Follow the gang, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at True Heel Heat. Patreon.com/True Heel Heat. You get exclusive content. We got Review of Honor dropping today over at Patreon.com/True Heel Heat, and the True Heel Heat Prediction Championship going into January. We announced yesterday because Romeo needs time to count all my points that I earned. Go over to ProWrestlingTees.com and ForYourWear.com for your True Heel Heat merchandise, and check out all the great content we got on the channel right now, like the True Heel Heat flagship podcast, True Heel Heat 257, with myself and Miss Chrissy Love, talking all things from this week in professional wrestling, including where will Mercedes Mone head next following her departure or talks ending with WWE recently. And we also discuss everything from CM Punk, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and more. So check it out, the True Heel Heat flagship podcast, and join us live next Saturday, True Heel Heat 258 for our year-end awards. And right now, over on the True Heel Heat Patreon page, you can vote for the year-end awards, and we'll be putting it up the link on our community page today. So check that out as well. And we got our latest top 10 video for the year-end awards dropping tomorrow, our 2023 Women's Wrestler of the Year. Check that out tomorrow right here on the channel. But for Josh, it is me, your True Heel Phenom SP3. This has been our AEW Worlds End review. We are signing off until next time.